that it takes and the beams where everything just moves across. I think that you can build with a 3D printer.
Basically all the solid, non-moving parts.
Yeah. That's really cool. To ask you just some other things that I threw into show notes, just prompt making a little bit more and where you're wanting to go with that. We can talk basically what we talked about before once we get the mics
Let me see. Hang on, let me see. Is that... Oh, yep, okay, it's working.
Oh. Gundam style. I hear fingertips on the surface of my mind. Cool. Cool. But yeah, this D20 that Rhino printed, it's got like, it's decorative. It would not be a good rolling dice. There's actually a imperfection on it, and that would make it
yours at the corner
unfair.
I think I colored. Yeah. That was one of the ones that I colored too, right? Yeah, I colored those.
Okay.
But it's actually fun. It's a nice little
thing to fiddle with. Yeah.
Yeah, like I could do some damage with this if I wanted to throw it at something.
Yeah. So I guess I could say I have plenty of stuff like that around the room, but that's because I live in the middle of Texas.
Yeah.
I
don't live in Texas, but I got my sister-in-law got basically a number of different blades, and they're all like really in bad shape. And she's like, I don't want these. Does anyone want these? And I'm like, I'll take them. Like, worst case, I throw them away. But I've gotten all of them now. I spent probably a night or two just polishing and sanding down all the rust off of them. So now I'm like, now I gotta figure out what to do with them. But
on the topic of that, while I was on vacation, I did buy a Damascus blade.
Nice.
And it was an unfinished blade. It has the guard on it already.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And it was a lot cheaper than buying an actual knife from the place. And I need to make a handle for it. I haven't decided what I'm going to make it out of yet, though.
Yeah,
into the world prep with Focus Fire Chat. Yes,
there's some really cool handles that you can make.
The blade already has a lot going on with the Damascus. So I'm probably going to go with something pretty simple looking, but I haven't 100% decided yet. I mean, I want it to be something different. I'm not going to just do, redwood like every knife has on the face of this planet. But don't want to do the ones where they do the teeth in the enamel.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a lathe? No.
Because I've seen people who have used lathes to they'll glue a bunch of things together. I saw somebody make a guitar body out of popsicle sticks.
Yeah.
And they used the lathe to help with the shaping of everything. Yeah. It was really cool.
I went to an estate sale.
Paracord. Being interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not exactly set up well for wrapping, is the thing. It's it's got the 2 holes in it for you to put the brass pins in, and it already has a brass guard. Gotcha. So it's lined up for a pieces of a handle, I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually. But I did go to an estate sale specifically try to get a lathe to do stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And whenever I looked in there at the lathe, it was half a lathe. It was the motor side of it just sitting there. I asked, where's the rest of it? And there was about a 25-year-old girl lady sitting there, and she goes, what do you mean? I said, oh, okay. Yeah, that's
never mind.
She found that. She has no idea what that is.
I think it was their grandparents' house or something. Yeah. But I'd rather not get something thrown in my face at 200 miles an hour. So I'll pass. And plus, they wanted $200 for it. So
this piece, it's olive wood.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a swing lid, little bowl container type thing. It's pretty, but I'm pretty sure a lathe made this. It bugs me because once it's put on, it's not actually even.
Oh.
Because of the magnet, it's slightly in the wrong spot, and it makes me angry. So I put things on top of it to hide it for the most.
I've never used a lathe. All the woodworking I've done has been with a skill saw, a chop saw, and sanding, and then like just drilling stuff together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've made some nice stuff with it.
Sure.
But I've never had the area to have a lathe and that kind of thing. Because you can chop stuff up with a saw on a back porch. I mean, that's not that hard.
Right, but like fine tooth detail, that's what lathes are really good at. It's like, okay, I want a perfectly round thing. Mm-hmm. You can do that with a lathe. You can't really. It's a lot harder to do. I
always wanted either that or a CNC machine. Mm-hmm. Those or CNC router would be so much fun to use. Yeah. But they cost a lot of money.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
I tried practicing with a handheld, like just a manual router. Mm-hmm. And that, I don't understand how people can make designs with those. It's so hard to control.
It's steady hands and not a lot of pressure.
Because like you try to be easy with it, and then it tries to run off on you. Mm-hmm. But if you grip it with too much force, it just wiggles everywhere, you know. So it's been forever since I tried it. So
Audacity is ready. Do you have your Audacity up, Saint?
Yes.
Alrighty. We'll do the countdown as normal, and then we will get this show on the road. Alright, so we'll do a basic countdown, 3, 2, 1, click. On click, we'll actually go for it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, click.
Cool.
And yeah.
Let me see.
Clap. Yes, but Baxter isn't here. Baxter's dealing with his baby, bro. Brand new child in the world. Can't do the clap without Baxter. And I'm going to turn down I guess, how's my mic on your guys' end?
That's good on my end.
Yeah, it's good on mine.
Okay.
Those are the dice. That's some of the dice you can do 3D printed green.
Which room did you throw it into?
Sorry, Discord chat.
Okay. Oh, nice. Those are lacy looking.
Yeah, so that's one style, and the style that I've seen a lot of is like there's some really cool, like you can get some really cool ones.
Okay, so I saw some like this once before. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that they were made with a 3D printer, but now that I see them, it was like those more angular ones.
Yeah.
And someone took it and then filled them with enamel, and they did the bar part in like a gold.
Yep.
And filled it with like a clear enamel, and it looked amazing. Yeah, I didn't know that's what it was made with.
It's so cool. Like you can get some really cool designs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine. But then you can also do like you could also do like the dice towers and all that other stuff, obviously. But then like where's the other one? Yeah, here's this one. This one was a fun one too.
Have you guys ever watched Critical Role? I think Jay has.
Yeah, I watched parts of season 1.
I have like followed them on Apple Podcasts, and I haven't gotten to listen to an episode yet.
I gotcha. They are fun. Laura Bailey, she does, I think, the voice of Trunks in DBZ. I can't remember which.
Well, I've seen a total of 2 episodes of Dragon Ball ever, so.
Oh, nice.
I know of the characters because I have friends that are obsessed with it, but I wouldn't be able to recognize a voice.
No, Laura, she's also on Critical Role, and she has a dice bag that can hold hundreds of dice that they sell on their website. Bag. No, I mean, it's nice. It's got like little pockets within the bag itself for all of her dice, because I think she has them set up where each pocket is like a denomination of dice. Like a D6 is all go in one pocket, and a D4 goes in a different pocket. Yeah, but they give her so much grief all the freaking time on the show because she has so many fucking dice. So many dice.
If I get into Warhammer, like where I actually play it, if I choose the orcs, I'm going to have a ridiculous number of dice.
That'll be awesome. Yeah.
Because orcs just shoot a lot and hope they hit. They have probably the lowest hit chance.
Yep, but they believe it. They believe it.
Yes. And they only hit on 5s or 6s, but if they roll a 6, they get to shoot again from the smallest pistol to the biggest cannon, and I love it.
Orcs are just...
They're crazy. I love them.
It reminds me of having a black deck in Magic the Gathering where you have, you set up all the swarm.
You're not wrong.
I watched one game of orcs on YouTube, and the guy just didn't care. It was basically gambling. And
the thing is, it's just like you unleash the horde, and it just literally rolls over the map, and you're just like...
Because the other guy was like,
a lot of them are going to die.
Drukhari army is set to deal at the highest level of play. You know, it's meant to be super tactical, go in, go out. You know, and they go over to the orc guy, and he goes, yeah, the objective is just shoot as many times as possible.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And he puts all his orcs in the middle of the table with no cover, and he still almost wins.
Oh yeah, like they make up for the lack of tactics with just sheer numbers and tenacity.
He was rolling like 30 dice at a time.
Oh,
it was great.
God.
Thank goodness they fast forwarded through them counting the shots, because that would have taken forever.
I have a bunch of dice. I have more D6s than anything else because I also play Fate System, which uses D6s. They use a plus and minus on their die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I have a bunch of
But it's a D6,
those.
Right? It's a D6, but instead of numbers, it's just plus. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a basically tabletop light for kids because what was it? I don't know if it was the Fate System. I think it was the Fate System.
Fate System is what they used for Dresden.
Okay, so this would have been a different one. It was one that I know Will Wheaton did on his tabletop show that he had for a while. But
it seems to pop up just everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. Well, I mean, I know why, but it doesn't seem like enough of a reason for him to be literally everywhere I look. So
this is true. This is my favorite. It's a see-through sea green.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. D20s. Yeah, those are cool.
I was looking for some. I was going to go ahead and buy some, not custom, but different D6s and stuff just to have.
Yeah.
And I was looking for some kind of like that, but in a purple or a gray. And then I realized I didn't have enough money to be spending like that right then, because I had to buy a lot of filament for projects that people had paid me for. So
yeah, that would do it. I have a family that loves to play Farkle, so I have a bunch of normal D6s too, specifically for that. I actually hand painted this set. I can't ever use it for an actual game, but I made it look like wood.
Nice.
I need to quit just nodding along because my camera's not on. But if you hear me just silent, I'm nodding. That's what it is.
You just grooving. We should start this thing. I have prepared myself to make a fool of myself this evening, so it shall be good.
Then I won't be the only one.
Give me a second. I'm running up screens for the chat. See if I can coordinate this a little bit.
Pens for the subs.
Thanks, Pens.
Gift subs. Playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Doom, I have not played that yet. I've played every Assassin's Creed except for Odyssey, and I gave up in Syndicate because I was so pissed at all the bugs they had. I could not. I just couldn't.
Played about 10 hours of Odyssey, and it's amazing. And then I hit
Yeah.
a point where I'm really bad about this in open world RPGs where there's just so much stuff to do. I just, like, I'll come back to it and then never do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask
I did
Green
the same
about
thing with
Witcher.
The Witcher 3.
I had a conversation with, I think, Blue about that the other day.
Yep.
I have made it past the tutorial 3 times, but I've not done anything beyond that.
I got to the point where I killed some guild, like, fishmen in the swamp. And then I was like, okay, I'm good for now. And then I never went back.
Yeah. I feel like I just would rather play D&D if I'm going to be in that kind of setting.
Well, I like open world games, but with a game like Destiny 2 being my main game, it's so hard for me to get in on another game that has a huge time investment. And it's not that the games are bad.
I hear
you.
But I get it. I really do. I think I played a little bit of Fall Guys, and I've played Among Us a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I really haven't touched much. Just been watching a lot of Critical Role.
Games I can just pick up and play a couple rounds of and get off and be fine. I have a ton of those I get on. I guess it's the only reason I still have Modern Warfare. I get on there, play a little bit, realize this may be a hot take, I don't know. But the PvP on there is so much easier in Destiny most of the time.
Yeah, it just really depends.
It's a lot, well, I feel a lot less competitive in that game. So I can just go on there and play around a little bit. And then Fall Guys, and I played a little bit of Among Us, but you have to get a group together, really. I'm not playing randoms with that. That seems like it get annoying.
Fall Guys is good for 20 minutes and put it down. But let's go ahead and start the episode. We can kind of continue some of this conversation and just talk about what we've been playing in the episode itself. So, Jay?
Okay. Cool. Where'd it go? There we go. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on September 25th, 2020, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episode, we don't know quite yet, are going to be focused around exploring the major players in the battle against the darkness. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the I've been doing everything tabletop RPG, Critical Role, D20s, green-eyed music lover. Longer intro than normal, but it's fine.
And this is the Saint 14 Stand Saints Workshop.
Yee. Our good friend Saint has joined us again. And actually, Saint, I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit. We were talking about 3D printing at the beginning. And for those of you who are listening to podcast form of this, I am holding up a D20 that a friend of ours, Rhino666, who also does 3D printing, gave both Blue and I these D20s at Guardian Con last year. And I was curious what 3D printing stuff that you've got on the horizon for your workshop.
So currently, I don't have any major projects going on. I have a kit for a Destiny 1 fusion rifle printing to go out to whoever wanted it, and then I am repairing my last big project. Because I received it back in 3 pieces, my Vexmouth class. So that's I'm not gonna say fun. I can't even fake that, but it'll be all right once I get it fixed. And then after that, I'm not entirely sure yet. I have about 4 or 5 different files I'm deciding between on what I want to do. It's either going to be Titanfall or Destiny related, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Can we kind of get a sneak peek of what you're thinking about working on, or as far as those options?
I found two absolutely ridiculous options I could do if I wanted to really go overboard. I got a file for a Ronin Titan sword from Titanfall 2, or if I happen to just win a stupid amount of money where I can afford to do it, I would do the plasma railgun from North Star, because that is the best Titan in the game. Don't come at me. That or Destiny related. I have a file for a Shaxx helmet. I really want. That seems like a standard one to do. I really want to, because I really enjoy Shaxx. Or Traveler's Chosen. I really like Traveler's Chosen, and that'd be a nice simple project to knock out. So
one that would be pretty thematic, considering what's come out fairly recently. It's been what, a week or two since the Traveler's Chosen quest came out.
I believe so, but I'm losing track of time lately.
Yeah, I think we all have. When you have much of your daily life revolves around days of the week that have to do with releases within game, when there's not a release or there's a delay in release, it feels like time stretches a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I still have a job that rotates through, but I work weekends there. So it's not a good way to structure my week around, really. So,
gotcha.
And plus, I would do a Hawk Moon because it's supposedly coming back in Beyond Light, but I already did it. I don't want to do another one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Traveler's Chosen is a fairly simple, like, not simple per se, but like a straightforward one. I would be interested in seeing the Ronin sword, because I may have enjoyed playing Ronin a bit more than your railgun.
Not gonna lie, the only reason I didn't choose Ronin is because in like my first 2 games of Titanfall, literally every other person was Ronin. So I was just like, I'm not doing that.
It's mobility. And you gotta love the mobility.
Yeah, but North Star has the same mobility. And a sniper rifle, which I only use the Kraber in Titanfall 2, so it fits.
I gotcha. So what else have you been playing since we are in kind of a lull for the game?
So I have been grinding out For Honor.
Okay.
That is probably my second favorite game of this generation. And I know it's not going to get a sequel because it kind of flopped when it first came out.
Well, I think there was still a good amount of people who were still covering it. I remember Mr. Fruit did a lot of videos on For Honor, and it just seemed like it was very PvP focused and not so much
it definitely
anything
is.
else. Yeah.
They released limited time PvE modes, but it's really just PvP modes with bots playing the enemies. Yeah, it's definitely PvP focused. Oh yeah, if y'all don't know, or if anyone in the chat doesn't know, it's basically someone said, what if we had a game where knights, samurai, and Vikings could fight? And that's all it is. Really enjoy it because the game itself has one of my probably the best, I'm going to say this, but it's probably the best 3D fighting game system I've ever played. Okay. I haven't played all of 3D fighting games, but out of the ones I've played, it's got a really good deep system compared to like Mordhau and stuff. But plus it balances this line between stylized and realistic character design. You know, like if you look at a picture of an actual knight armor, it doesn't look that cool, honestly. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but then they do the same thing in Rainbow Six Siege, where all the operators look semi-realistic. They're believable looking. Sure. But their abilities are kind of not
turned up.
I mean, they got a dude who literally just runs through walls. I mean,
what is it? I can't think of his name. Tachanka. That's who it is.
Tachanka.
Yeah. Freaking.
So, the funny thing is, he probably has the most realistic ability out of most of the people in that game because he just puts out a big machine gun
and a giant shield.
Yeah, which I don't know where he keeps that. But
who knows? I just remember, like, you watch Man at Arms on Twitter. He loves playing Siege 6, and so he memes constantly in that game. And Tachanka is who he loves to meme with.
it's a game I regularly revisit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realize I'm terrible at it
Yeah.
and step away. So yeah,
We've had a few people around ask if anybody in FFC has played Among Us, since that is the hot game at the moment. And I know that Blue has not. I have. Have you played Among Us at all, Saint?
yes, I've played it a couple nights. I haven't gotten to play a ton of games yet, but it's more of just whenever I find a
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, but I'm not playing it a ton.
Clue in space. That's what I think of it as. It's like, crappy. I almost cursed on it. Crappy space opera Clue.
Yeah, I played 15 games of it and haven't gotten imposter a single time. Wait, no. I got
Oh
one
man.
round of imposter. One round of
Okay.
imposter. And I was playing on a laptop and I was struggling to hit the kill button.
Mm-hmm.
So I killed exactly 2 people before I was voted off. I killed one person right in front of another person because I just got frustrated and they were about to win. And whenever they called the emergency meeting, he voted me because I was walking weird. He apparently didn't see the person I killed right in front of him. So, and I got voted out for walking weird. So
Yeah. The one time I played imposter, there was somebody in the chat because I was doing the text-based chat, and they were trying to vote me off pretty quickly, and nobody would believe them because I only said one thing the entire time. Ay. It's like, oh well. It was fine. We ended up winning. It was fun. Vuru, I don't know how many mind games I would actually be able to play, especially if we did a voice chat on it, because I am not a great liar. I can do it, but I tend to give myself away.
It also depends on
Anyway.
who we have in the voice chat, because if it's Ben and I playing, it's gonna go sideways very quickly anyways.
I would be a way better crewmate if we had voice chat, but I would probably be a terrible imposter. Because there's so many times where like I catch someone in a way that's hard to explain in that short text chat.
Uh-huh.
Like one time I was watching cameras. I watch cameras all the time pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw someone go in a room that only had one exit and they never came out. And I was trying to explain that because they vented
Right.
across the way. I was going to try to explain that in text chat, but then it turns out he vented right behind me and killed me. So, yeah, that was not fun. And then he ended up. I just
like watching videos on it at this point. It's pretty funny to see some of the different streamers. You'll get the groups of streamers together and they're just yelling at each other, and it's who can yell at each other the most efficiently. My
favorite series so far is probably Mr. Fruit's videos.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that group's been doing stuff together so long. And plus, their TTT videos were so good. They already have been through this kind of game, so they all have specific ways how they play these games, and it makes it so much more entertaining.
Oh yeah, awesome. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's too much else we really, as far as like general stuff to talk about. We should probably get into kind of the more meat and potatoes of this episode, which is going to be, quite frankly, it's going to be me being the conspiracy theory guy. Aliens, a little bit, for about as long as Blue lets me. So
that works for me.
Yeah. You want to do a quick ad break before we jump into that?
Yeah, do you want to do ad break before or after announcements?
After. Let's do announcements.
Okay, so real quick, we had, I know this feels like this probably is going to create some digital whiplash for people, but I have a couple of big ones. Let me read, I had it written down. The first one that I wanted to do is we're actually going to stay on WordPress. I actually had a lot of really good conversations with multiple people that ranged from people who use it just to like read stuff on to a very, very, really, really detailed technical analysis of the whole thing with Cornholio from the Destiny show. And basically, after multiple conversations and going through it and different stuff, we're going to stay with it. We're going to stay with the WordPress. We're going to stay that course. It just makes more sense to go that route after the multiple chats I've had. We are going to keep the subreddit open since we did pull the trigger and have that go live. But that is not going to be the primary route for distribution of like the weekly lore roundups and articles. So like the Destiny Armory defined articles, the weekly lore roundups, any of the community updates from the lore network in general is going to be all on the website. The subreddit is going to be predominantly kind of like a question and answer board, really. We do have a new layout of the website. I've redesigned the focus of the website. I think it does a lot more justice to what we're actually trying to do with it. There's a lot more heavy focus on the members of the lore network instead of the articles, because there's a lot of going on there. One of the big things that I did also do was I was able to pull in a content feed from Reddit. So actually, as things get published on Reddit, they will actually show up as news links basically over on the website. So please feel free, go check out the website, and it's thelorenetwork.com. And again, please let me know what you think about that. If there's anything I can do that you want to see, like I have our summary of the Destiny timeline. I have that more prominent. I have I'm going to start trying to do the dialogue stuff again. I've got the tools that I was using to do that working again, so I'm going to start trying to collect those. I have, the Rolodex of all the light bearers from the Destiny universe that I have. I might try to put that on there as well. So there's a lot of different resources that I think I can get in there, but I want to know if that's of interest to people. So just let me know. Also, just a quick, let me see. Yep. Also, my second one was just a quick reminder. We do have actually a sponsor link to Loot Crate. And the reason I bring this up is because Loot Crate is so they did a Halo themed one, the Legendary Crate, which is like a very specific focus. That's kind of their new thing, is they're doing specific focus for like quarterly loot crates. They announced, I think a month or two ago, that they're doing a Destiny one. So if there's of any interest in that, hit up. I have the link in our live chat right now. I will put the link in the show notes as well. Currently, our show notes are still going to be predominantly housed on Podbean. I am trying to think if there's a better way to distribute those. I don't know how many people use the show notes, so please let me know if there's a preferred method as well on that. But I'll put the sponsor link over there on the show notes currently on Podbean for that. If you are interested in buying it, it's not anything extra. What it does is it kicks back. It's basically the standard sponsor affiliate link. You use the link and then they give us a portion. Basically, it's nothing extra for you. But yeah, basically a big thing for me is let me know thoughts on the new site layout. I love hearing feedback, whether it's criticism, whether it's keep doing it this way. I don't care. Because when I hear stuff, that's how I know that it's actually being consumed, or it's needing to do something better. If it's like, this is stupid, you need to do this and this and this, please let me know. We will redesign whatever we can to make it easier for you guys to use, because that's the entire point of it. But yeah, that was the two big ones that I had.
Cool. Well, let's do a quick ad break and then we'll get right back into it. Okay. Bear with me. I paint a picture for you. Imagine a cosmic chessboard where players of light, players of dark, and rogue players, gray players we'll call them, are in between, all vying for different positions on that chessboard. But when you look at it, the only ones you can actually see, at least fully, are your white players and gray players. Right now in D2, that's kind of where we're at, because we are dealing with specifically the fact that a lot of major players have been positioning themselves for this final cosmic battle, quote unquote final cosmic battle. But we also have Zavathun, Callus, a few other players that you're just like, okay, I'm not quite sure where you're at. So it's been a long time since we've seen some of these players and how they're actually interacting. And I really wanted to do an episode where we just kind of break it down. Where's everybody at? Where was everybody the last time we saw them? And if we have any information about where they're going. Seems like a pretty convoluted. It is. Convoluted little story, but for both Blue and Saint for this episode, if you guys want to help jump in, you're more than welcome to. If you also want to be like, hey, I have questions on how you got this and how you got this connected, please do that. I realize that this is a really weird topic, but we're going to cover a lot of different players from particularly the light side or the gray side. And it's going to start with who's talking to whom at this point. And the first grouping we have is Drifter and Eris, obviously with the Banterite contact. We have Eris, Ikora, and Asher, Marasov and Osiris, Marasov and the Exo-Stranger, Zavala and Ikora, and then Zavala, Anna Bray, and Rasputin. Are there any other ones that you guys can think of who have been chatting together or have interactions together that I've kind of missed out on?
Osiris and Saint 14.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, because we have the primary reason I say that is because the drops that are going to be relevant to the Festival of Loss, we got 3 entries. All 3 of them are about the 2 of them. Now, it's not like a huge revelation on the story, other than, in my opinion, confirming some inferences, but we won't go down that road. Candy corn is a thing.
It's so cute.
Candy corn is a thing.
It's so cute.
I remember when I first read that, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for Green to read this.
Wait, what am I missing here?
So, in the new cards, there's been...
She's like, I just remember.
Since I'm just going to break out and talk about it. It's fine. Saint 14 and Osiris have been a thing as far as, like...
Either really, really close friends or more than just friends.
And the new cards for Festival of the Lost kind of make it could be taken either direction. Yeah. There's a moment where Saint 14 basically tells Osiris that he is going to eat the candy corn. Like, he forces Osiris to eat the candy corn.
Okay, I saw that little snippet
hilarious. It's so cute. Like,
I don't know.
I have it highlighted. I have it highlighted for the live chat.
That lore entry or Eris Morn and the pineapple?
Oh god, that's hard. They're both really, really cute and funny. It's just the pineapple story.
They've been doing a lot more of those recently, with the Eris and the pineapple, the candy corn, Asher Mir and the Titan bringing him just like drinking alcohol when he asks for isopropyl alcohol. They've been doing that a lot more recently. Yeah,
there's been a lot of tongue-in-cheek and humor, different kind of humor than there's been in a while, which is, it's nice. It helps lighten things. I think with Saint and Osiris that they're not... The problem I have with Saint and Osiris is that Osiris specifically has he's been moving towards this ending conflict, right? Like, he's been working with Marasov. He's been working with various guardians on preventing the big collapse in his mind. But Saint doesn't seem to have that drive as much as just being a vendor and being back and being happy again. Like, there's not a whole lot of depth to what he's doing now that he's out of the Vex network.
He's very much waiting for it to appear in front of him.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he's always been. I mean, I do think he would go and find someone fight when there's no one right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're kind of really leaning into he only worries about what's right in front of him, and he's worried about the city right now. He's not worried about the people coming to destroy the city. He's just worried about the city itself.
He did talk about how he's gone down into the city and seen the laughter and happiness that's down there. So that is.
But then again, he might be kind of using that as his excuse to justify him staying where he's happy for once,
Yeah, I was going to say, Saint also has, in my mind, one of the best excuses to not have to do anything for a while is, hey, you've been dead for decades. Come back and enjoy life for a while.
Well, right. I mean, even then, before he was dead for decades, he was fighting Vex for untold amounts of years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was a one-man 300, so...
Yeah, as far as Saint goes, I think there is opportunity for him to go and be a part of this a little bit more in depth as far as where everything's going. There are snippets of what he could be moving towards, because there was a whole talk about him possibly becoming the next speaker, right? Like that was a theory for a while there. So I don't know if he actually is going to move that route, but it's possible.
Chat also has Mithrax and his guardian friends.
Right.
Osiris and Rasputin, and then Tyrakarn and Ephrodite.
Also
running out there.
Varix and Aramis.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if Varix is in communication with Aramis.
Oh, okay.
But we know
at least
that
Varix is back.
Varix is back. I'm going to be very interested to see how people react to that, like in-game, and how that gets taken up.
Have you seen the Twitter argument?
Oh my gosh. And it's one of those self-fulfilling
I'm hoping it's on the point that I think it is, but
it's the same point as Uldren.
Well, there's that. This kind of that, but like there was a guy who was like, "That's Savathun," which I'm like,
"Oh,
no." Okay,
but the
no, that's a
reason why he said that is because there's no clicking in Varix's voice actor. There's not the same vocal pattern. Not the same speech pattern.
Yeah, I was thinking speak a lot smoother than I remember him speaking. But.
Yeah, Dancing. I'm on the same page as Dancing's looking forward to Varix's non-apology tweet. Because if everyone remembers, Varix is the reason the prison had a riot that led to Cade getting shot.
I'm sorry that you feel bad that Cade died. That's what he's going to say.
Yeah, it's like he shouldn't have been there. Like,
yeah, Varix is just oh god.
I'm sorry your friend died.
What's that?
Black flag in chat. I'm sorry your friend died. Still Cade.
I'm sorry he died in a freak accident I had nothing to do with.
People are already headhunting anybody who has any positive things to say about Varix. It's just like what happened with Uldren. And
at least with Uldren, you could tie a direct line. Varix didn't know Cade was going to get called there. Varix didn't really know what was going to happen after he let people out. He was maybe thinking, just they'll disperse and a few prison guards would die.
Yeah.
He wasn't expecting to call the Hunter Vanguard there. And then the Hunter Vanguard to try to fight all 8 Barons at the same time. And then pull out his ghost in front of a sniper. So...
Yeah. So where do we think Mithrax is at this point? Like, Mithrax, last time we saw him was the 0 hour mission, correct? Like, that was the last time I remember seeing him.
Didn't we get a card after that? The card doesn't say where he is. It just says he's, like, in a ship with his Guardians, or was that before 0 hour?
I think that was right before 0 hour, because I think that was when I think that was during Yeah,
oh yeah, that was
during
him
0 hour.
deciding to go there without
because
his
the Guardians
Guardian.
were like,
Okay.
"Do you trust them?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we basically
technically.
don't know where he is because he just probably wouldn't just hang out at his
Well,
model's
then,
still there at the farm if you have
did the whole
quests, right?
thing with Truth happen after 0 hour, or was that before 0 hour?
That was Season of Opulence, and I genuinely don't know.
Because that's when
I think
we literally stole
Truth
candy
came
from
out
a baby.
afterwards.
We literally
But-
stole candy from a fallen baby.
Right.
Give me that rocket launcher.
Okay, so Varix. What if Varix and Mithrax become buddy? There's no
I don't
instance, there's no
see-
lore or anything like that, but
I hope they're at least rivals first. At least, I mean,
Yeah, I see Mithrax as being in opposition to Varix, to be honest.
you think?
Yeah, because Varix has claimed Kel of Kells.
Has he actually
Yep.
claimed
Yep.
he has he
That was the
said
last
it?
thing. Yep, that was the last thing he said. Let me look it up real quick. Because that was one of the last things that he said with I can't remember what the book was.
okay, I looked it up, and 0 Hour did come out before Truth.
Oh, it did come out
It was
before Truth?
only
Okay.
it was only a week before. But,
Right. Truth came out afterwards.
Yeah.
As far as I'm trying to think some of the other ones. You said Mithrax, you said Varix. Who else did you say? Blue or chat say?
Tyra and Ephrodite.
Tyra and Ephrodite. Ephrodite hasn't really been heard from since she went back to her colony, has she?
We don't really know. Oh, okay. So he doesn't say Kel of Kells. He says, I become Varix the Kel, House Judgment Envoy to the Elixni people.
Okay. One point of order. How can you be a Kel if you have nobody else in your house?
I mean, does that automatically make you?
Doesn't that automatically make you the?
But
Varix also has the Elder Cipher. Like that's another thing that you have to
Right.
remember with it. Like he has
Also,
all the tools.
They might go the route of Varix will recognize someone when he if someone comes along like Mithrax or something that can be the Kells. They might play it off like Varix will recognize that he's that person.
I could see
and
that.
then he will relinquish it. You know, he won't fight someone he thinks is worthy of it. So they might go that route to avoid Varix coming across as a bad guy.
Yeah, because that was his entire bone to pick with Skolas was he wasn't worthy.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder what it requires for somebody to be worthy, but
just basically honor. Like that was his thing for Skolas was Skolas killed innocents. And that was the final straw for Varix was he
drugs
killed
eat
civilians.
children too, so I mean, but I guess that
right.
I mean,
but
I guess
Skolas,
none of those were Kells, but
wasn't that House
Skolas,
Devils though?
Yeah,
like the ones back on Earth.
Well, and that was the boogeyman tale, but with the thing with Varix and Skolas, it was the slaughter of the awoken civilians, where they actually. Skolas actually, instead of going after a military unit, he actually targeted civilian structures and actually like massacred innocents who were not involved in the fight. And that's when Varix was like, no, like I can't, that's not, I don't accept that. That's when he betrayed him to Mara.
Okay. That makes sense.
The last time Ephrodite was around was during the last bit of the Iron Lords type thing, right? Like she left after she was done being vendor for Iron Banner and went back to her colony.
Well, as far as we know, yeah. The only thing that we've the stuff that we've seen from Ephrodite recently has not been current events. It's been memories of different.
Yeah, her like killing Satan and stuff.
Yeah, she was involved in the Red War.
if she's out there, if she's out where we're at, because we don't know where that colony is.
Correct.
Do we?
There we know that I think it was the outer planets, the outer system. So it would be technically, that is a very, very large space. But, I mean, technically it would be in the zone that Europa would be.
Yeah, I feel like it's possible for her to come back, but I feel like it's more likely they might just save her for one of the mid-year updates or something. Maybe. If they decide to bring her back, rather than bring her back in Beyond Light. Because in Beyond Light, we're already getting the Stranger, Eris, Drifter, and Varix all in the same place. So I doubt they'll bring Aphrodite to Europa also.
Right.
It might get a little cluttered.
Well, I'm also just thinking, as from a financial standpoint, one of the things that's always stuck with me is that when we got to talk with John at Guardian Con a year and a half ago now, it's been forever. One of the things he mentioned is they only have so many resources that they're able to devote to so many voice actors. And they'll have more with Beyond Light because it is going to be a bigger release than they have been able to do recently, but there's still a limitation on how many voice actors you can pull in. People that I want to continue to talk about is I want to actually talk a little bit about the Vanguard, because the ones we've mentioned so far, I think the only ones that I would say have a more active role in the cosmic battle ahead is Varix, right? Like, Varix is there, at least on Europa, dealing with whatever we're doing out there. But I really don't think that St. Fortian's got much to do with it. I really don't think that we're going to have much from Tyra, even though Tyra is still doing her thing on the farm. And is the farm going away? Like, is that one of the... that's going to be weird. I wonder where she's going to end up.
I mean, it might still say she's there. They just don't let us go there anymore.
Maybe. I didn't think anything in the EDZ was going away, but Ikora has been staying in the tower primarily, and her and Zavala both have been functioning more as a go-between for different things. Ikora's primary go-between has been with Eris in particular, and even then, Eris actually has some not so nice things to say about it. The quote from Seed of Silver Wings says, "Now, Ikora, to the matter of your inquiry, thank you for that, by the way, that you would not come for yourself, or not come yourself, I will say nothing." So, Eris is a little jaded that Ikora won't actually leave the tower.
Yeah, because even Zavala did once.
Zavala has a few times. But
well, no,
Ikora
for
is
the
pretty
Silver
much
Wings, though. He came.
Go for it.
It was very memorable when he visited Eris.
Yeah.
He would launch people into orbit.
Cole was one of them.
Yeah.
It's in the right spot. She had no idea it was coming. It was glorious.
I wonder if that accident in the tower sign refreshes when that happens. If Zavala kills someone on a mission.
I don't know. I think that's location based. How many people the commander has killed? Yeah. There you go. Zavala stayed in the tower. There has been a meeting called for the consensus, which has been interesting. Have you guys read about this in Hollow Words? It's the I think it's a fusion rifle.
I haven't read that one yet, no.
So there's a meeting. It's in the show notes for us, so if that link is there if you want to check it out. But there's a meeting of the consensus, quote unquote, which granted, consensus does not have the speaker anymore, so is it really consensus? Don't know. But there's future war called Dead Orbit, New Monarchy, Zavala, and Ikora. And Ikora and Zavala are explaining what's going on in this upcoming battle and what will be needed, and some of the things that are needed is basically Rasputin. Future War Cult is actually going to allow Rasputin to.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. This is one where they're like,
Yeah.
but you have to have Anna's approval. And they're like, ugh.
Yeah, so Zavala talks about when Rasputin fell, a hidden agent was dispatched to investigate the pyramid's nature and divine its intent. They are supported by Guardian operatives. They will work to contain the darkness while we evacuate nearby assets and evaluate engagement strategies. In our haste to act, we were caught flat-footed. When we choose to strike again, we must be sure of its efficacy. We may only get one chance. You have all brought wisdom to this meeting. I have considered your council executor. I request the new monarchy support us as they did so graciously when the Red Legion struck. Organize the movement of our people and coordinate with Soraya Hawthorne, which I think is flippin' hilarious, by the way.
He kind of puts
his nose.
He kind of puts all of them in their place, like in his own way.
Yeah, so Zavala asked for Hideo and Hawthorne to work together, and then that's to secure them within the walls. Jalal requests that Dead Orbit ships ferry the wayward home and provide transit security. In return, you will both be granted full access to the Vanguard's Luna site resources, which that is interesting as well, meaning that they get moonside resources.
Right, and the other thing there is the executor is actually beholden to Soraya, which I found interesting. He has to coordinate with Soraya, so Soraya actually has kind of a position of power over him. And then also the interesting thing for the Dead Orbit piece is that he's actually having Dead Orbit bring people home. Keep in mind that's the exact opposite of what Dead Orbit wants to do. So I mean, like, Zavala's kind of pulling rank on people here, and I really liked it.
Yeah,
he stopped asking and started telling.
No, yeah, he's like,
there for a while they were making Zavala seem like he wasn't the commander. Yeah, he didn't have, like, they were just like, oh, Zavala says, oh, let's do this, and everyone's like, nah. And then he's like, okay. And then, like that John Mulaney skit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to go hunt Aldrin. Okay.
Yeah. There's still a little pushback from both New Monarchy and Dead Orbit actually is not. Looks like Jalal's actually pretty fine with it. Of course, Hideo's like, a late invitation, but acceptable. It's like, okay.
Seems like Dead Orbit, like earlier they said, like, well, the time for our plan is past, so whatever y'all say, we'll do.
Yeah, which is great.
I like how Lakshmi 2 is just like, I don't care, let's do it. Just get the guns.
So Lakshmi, Future War Cult, says Project Stronghold will require additional, or Zavala saying this to Lakshmi, Project Stronghold will require additional printings. Ada 1 has agreed to lend her equipment and expertise to assist in this endeavor. Is this satisfactory? And then Lakshmi says, our forges are ready and eager. We request to assist the Bray in evaluating damage to the war mind. Zavala says, offer the help. Anna will accept it, I'm sure, so long as you defer to her oversight.
This Lakshmi's like, we don't defer.
Yeah, Lakshmi is like, her standing is tenuous. We believe it amicable to offer partnership, not support. Zavala, you may suggest as much.
Zavala's like, kids, figure it out.
Yeah, I read that passage above. I was like, oh, Future War Cult got away without having to get softly scolded, but then this happens.
Right, and it's kind of nice with the fact that everybody's working together. Like Ada's not necessarily going away story-wise, even though Black Armory is disappearing. She's going to be helping Future War Cult with these printers, essentially 3D printing more guns, as well as trying to figure out what's going on with Rasputin, which is nice that they're involved in it as well.
My favorite faction working with my favorite NPC. Let's go.
Yeah. Speaking of Exos, Exo Stranger.
Oh boy.
Leaving out anything from the trailer that we know that's coming with us dealing with her. The last time we saw her physically was in the tower back in D1.
Because they edited her out of the New Light mission, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Like, she's been gone a long time. The last mention we have of her, or at least hint of her, was from Mara Sov back in Mara's final week.
That was tenuous at best too.
Right, but it's still it's not really as tenuous as you would think, considering the line that Mara uses, and I transcribed that in our show notes as well, because she uses the line with a side should always be taken, even if it's the wrong side.
Right.
That is a direct quote from the Ishtar library mission, if I remember correctly, from D1.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's at least that connection with her. So we know that she's been working in the background. We just don't know what she's been doing. So her placement is, as far as where we know she's going to be, on Europa. But as far as where she lies in the battle ahead, I think that's still a little bit up in the air, considering that she's throwing in a little bit with Mara, because Mara is still somewhat of a tenuous ally.
Yeah, like Mara's definitely gives off the vibe she's gonna do the same things, kind of Drifter, where she's just ensuring herself, but we're not 100% sure yet. I mean, honestly, they've left it open enough where she could literally just join the darkness if they really wanted to. I don't think they're gonna do that.
I don't think
the option is open.
That will alienate so many players.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Actually, I was getting ready to type you that very thing, Blue. We are actually going to take a quick ad break, and then we're going to continue on. And I think, since we've kind of talked about Osiris, let's talk about one more connection with him before we move on to a different connecting group. So, ad break, and we'll be right back. Okay. Osiris, besides his cute little being force-fed candy corn by Saint 14 in Festival of the Lost, if you haven't seen this card, just go look at it. It's adorable. We know who is in charge of that dominance in that relationship as far as friendship goes, or if you're a purveyor of, there's something more going on there. But as far as connections to everything coming up within our current story, Osiris's biggest connection has to do with something that Brother Vance said in Trials and Tribulations. In chapter 6, 7, and 8, Brother Vance goes and visits Mara Sov. And Mara, he tries to make a deal with Mara. Mara basically goes, yeah, I don't exactly need your help, little man, but you can do something for me.
Yeah, well, she also tells him to stop. Like,
yeah,
she's like, you need to quit while you're ahead.
Yes. Yep. And Vance doesn't, because it's Brother Vance, which part of me, I was wondering when I was going over those cards again the other day, if that is on purpose or not. If Mara knows that he isn't going to quit,
then eggs him on.
Yeah, maybe. Because that was part of the time where Vance was wasn't he pretty no, he had the consensus of people around him helping him. I'm just trying to think if there was a reason for him to stop. Besides everyone not liking it.
He was pretty set in his path at that point. Like, he was convinced that he was he was onto something. That's the thing. It's like, Vance wasn't wrong. It's just both Mara and Osiris both are kind of like, you don't understand the powers that you're playing with, and you're gonna cause more harm than good if you keep going down this path, basically, is what I kind of got from it.
Right.
Vance was like, he knew enough that he was being dangerous, if that makes sense. Like, he knew just enough to actually cause damage, which is more than most people, but he did not understand the scope of what he was kind of poking. And so Mara and Osiris are like, you need to stop. Like, do not wake that bear. Like, that is something we don't want to wake up right now.
I did hear one crazy theory about, the whole death tones from the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to Destiny Down Under the other day. And did y'all hear their theory about it?
Locke's theory or Matt's theory?
The one about the Paul McCartney song.
Oh.
I have no idea how they got to that point. I cannot remember.
Chat does not agree with you.
But when Vance wrote down the tones and stuff, it wrote that song, that terrible song. And that's canon now.
It's such a spinfoil thing, but there is a tiny bit to support that with the fact that song is referenced in the end of was it Duress and Egress?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
Yeah. Gosh. No, so back to Trials and Tribulations. Yeah. He has that conversation with Mara. Mara tells him to stop what he's doing and then tells him that you're going to go give Osiris a message from me, which basically gives Brother Vance the one thing that he has always wanted, a legitimate reason to go and see Osiris. Because Osiris doesn't want anything to do with them. And that message is to plant the seed. Fun point of order about these cards, specifically I believe it is in Chapter 6, there is a call out of being air vents on this location where he's meeting the Queen. There are no air vents in the Dreaming City nor in the Throne World, so it's very likely that Trials and Tribulations takes place either at the Vestian Outpost or on one of Mara's ships. Most likely the Vestian Outpost.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because the Vestian Outpost is the gateway to the rest of the reef.
And Vance was there already. Vance had already been out there for, or not Curse of Osiris, but the Trials of Osiris originally when he was the vendor for that.
Right, and that's where the Trials and Tribulations gets a little wonky with timelines. Because it's like, when did that meeting actually happen?
I think it happened before Taken King. I think it happened before TTK.
Well, no, and I mean,
because
that's
he
what
had
I mean
a physical
is like,
audience.
Which also points out a couple different interesting things, because Osiris didn't have a seed until very recently.
Do we know that?
Yeah, because
he had to get the information from Rasputin, didn't he?
Yep. He got the information from Rasputin, and that was the cutscene that he stormed in and got all grumpy. He's like, I know, blah, 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 I don't approve of you. Like that whole cutscene, which was, oh God, what was that? That was...
It was a couple weeks before Season of the Worthy, I believe.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because that was the whole thing that Grumpy Man gets mad at the cloud meme from.
Right.
That meeting was what led him to find the same anomaly that Anna finds later, because then that feeds back, because the idea was that Rasputin knew about the anomaly because he had encountered it with Anna. That whole thing. So like that whole time thing is actually a little bit wibbly wobbly, because if Mara told him to plant the seed back before Taking King, but Osiris didn't have a seed until like literally a couple seasons ago, like that's a pretty big jump in time as far as...
Well, we also don't know when Brother Vance actually delivered the message, because
right. But my point is that Mara had the message. Like Mara like gave Vance the message,
knew.
And yeah, she was aware of it.
Trying to think. Chapter 8. Let's see here. Vance must have given Osiris the message fairly recently, though, because Vance has talked about...
Because he went and found him at the sundial, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was just looking up. Vance has also talked about wanting to meet Osiris forever. Fanboy his fanboy.
Yeah.
And then he gets accosted. So.
Right. It's weird. What? Like, I don't know if that is, or maybe Mara is on a ship somewhere and we don't know where. Like that's the other option.
Mm-hmm.
Because that air vent comment in chapter 6 really kind of throws a wrench in everything timeline wise. I agree. They could be very, very far apart, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Occam's razor would argue that it's her on a ship somewhere, and it's recent.
Right.
But I'm just saying,
Possibly.
like, if it is the Vestian outpost, we know that Vance was there. You know, we know that had air vents. Like, there's a lot of things that could, depending on how convoluted of a logic you want to go down, I guess is my point.
I mean, Black Flag is making a point in chat that Mara does have dreams of her future, which is true. She's done it a few different times. One of them being her death by orcs, another one being the fact that she's going to meet the Exo Stranger.
Yeah, and Dancing is also making the point that there's a Grimoire card, Disciples of Osiris, from Feora to Vance that says, if they know of the trials, the tower will not suspect your other motive for dwelling so close to the margins between light and dark. And Dancing goes on to say that message from Feora to Vance, at least to him, implies the audience with Mara was Vance's second objective on the Vestian outpost.
That would make sense.
That would make sense too. Yep.
So here's what I want to do. I actually want to talk about the elephant in the room of Mara Sov, because she's tied to so many of these characters.
Sure's here?
Oh,
I thought you said elephant in the room, so I thought you were talking about Sure.
I mean, there's Sure too, because I mean, Sure and Mara.
Because she's so
we don't
big.
know exactly where Sure is besides dead.
Is she though?
That's just like taking a nap in Destiny.
Yeah,
it's
like Dragon Ball.
You're just out
right?
of commission for a minute.
Get some Senzo. Get those Senzo beans. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that one, because there's so much spin foil when it comes to Sure. Mara's last known position was in her makeshift throne world realm, where we used to visit her when it mattered, because it doesn't. You could still go there. It just doesn't matter anymore because you're not going to get anything. But her last speech with us was the one that basically alerted us that the Exo Stranger is likely going to come back. And that is when it's her little speech also about how light and dark is very the themes that we've been seeing lately. So it just goes, when there is too much darkness in the universe, light must cast it away. And when there is too much light, darkness must drown it out. This truth is our burden. This is what it is to be awoken. I dreamt of a friend I will come to have. She will tell me a side should always be taken, even if it's the wrong side. I think I should like her. The next act is about to begin, and I do not know when I will return. Fear nothing. Bow to no one. We will meet again one day. And I mean, she calls out the themes that we've been seeing in the prophecy dungeon. She calls out the themes that we've been just having all over the place this season. She also calls out the Exo Stranger, which we know is coming back. The theory that Mara is going to go on the dark side, that I think is partially from this quote of hers. The fact that she's like, even if it's the wrong side. Maybe?
I don't personally believe she will, but they definitely left it open that if they decided to.
Yeah.
They can say, oh, she said this. You know?
Something else I discovered fairly recently that really weirds me out, and I want to get your guys' take on this. There is a card that came out this season of the Arrivals, came out 6/9/2020. Hold Fast Mark. It is the Titan's Mark from this season. It has a story tied to Julian and Aldrin when they went to the Black Garden, and it's bizarre in so much that it has to do with Julian talking to Mara about the trip and basically getting not berated, but a stern talking to from Mara about the whole thing. It seems very odd to have this tiny bit of information thrown in here, because the last time we had gotten anything about Julian and Aldrin going into the Black Garden was Forsaken 2 years ago. Do you guys have any thoughts onto why this card came in now?
I think it's a reminder that Julian's still around. Because Julian is going to be, I think that if anyone is going to be able to reach Aldrin in his new state as a guardian, Julian will be probably one of the ones that will try. I can see that being a connection. Now, not to say that Aldrin's going to remember, because we also have previous encounters with the Awoken meeting guardians, and then like the guardian has no idea. Like, I can't remember his name. But there was a guardian who didn't even recognize his own daughter. But like Julian is saying, you know, in this card, he's like, he refers to Aldrin as his brother. He says, you know, he saved my life more times than I can count, and not just in battle. He saved me from despair, from self-doubt. When LaVisca died, when my world was crumbling, he saved me from myself. So I can see Julian trying to do the same to Aldrin, you know, especially if Aldrin, as, you know, the Crow or whoever he becomes in the Guardian with the blank slate that he has, you know, he goes on to say that Aldrin is my brother. I love him and I would follow him anywhere. I'd follow him into death if he asked. And so, again, I see Julian being kind of a redemptive force, more so for Aldrin, because if Aldrin as a guardian, which we've seen with the Dawning card, where he's kind of hiding out in the shipping crates, and he's just hunkered down, and he literally is in the middle of despair. He's in self-doubt. He's in all these things, and you know, pulled pork is a force of happiness, but he's only so much. I think if Julian ever found Aldrin in that state, I think that is going to be, I see him being the road back to having Aldrin as a major figure, because he will try to save him in the same way that Aldrin saved him. Like, he will try to return that favor.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, that seems like a pretty likely option. I'm not 100% sure if they'll show Julian, but they might just be throwing this card in just to have Aldrin fresh in the mind in case they decide to have, you know, that cutscene that people have been sharing since before D1 was released of Aldrin in the Cosmodrome. There's many people speculating that he's going to be part of the new base campaign, I guess, for new players. That they might just be keeping Aldrin in people's minds because he'll appear in the Cosmodrome. Julian seems like the best bet for leading Aldrin back into being around people, pretty much. Because every other way I could think of with Aldrin, it would still be kind of forced, or would take a lot of explaining on why that person would be with them. Because before what Blue explained, the main way I could think of with the characters that they're talking about is maybe having Aldrin, have Savala take Aldrin under his wing or something like that. Maybe.
Possibly.
But that would be a hop, skip, and a jump away from where we are now. You know,
it's Savala in a pretty difficult situation as well. When you foster somebody who has the face of someone that many people tend to hate, you don't get looked at in a very nice way, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the way they portray Savala as he doesn't make popular decisions, you know.
Yeah.
I could see him. They could easily make him the one who is more understanding towards Uldren being a new person. They could also do it with Ikora. They could kind of do a little subversion where Savala hasn't dealt with how he feels towards Uldren, since he wasn't the one who went after Uldren or anything. He was the one just trying to get past the situation. They could play it off where Ikora's already worked through her feelings about it.
Right.
And she takes care of Uldren, and Savala's the one with the problem with it because he hasn't dealt with any of what he's been through. He's just been pushing it to the side. I have a job to do, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But that would be a lot of legwork for that story. I feel like.
True. I mean, it could be something brought up. We don't know what's going to happen with that until it happens at this point. So, where we're at in the episode, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the introduction episode, which for those of you ready for the advanced episode and the live chat, or for those of you who are in the podcast form later, we're going to dive into Eris Morn, the Nine, and Drifter, because those three are very, very, very much so more involved than anybody else at this point, including Marasov. So look forward to that episode in your feeds. And for those of you who are in chat, once we get back from break, you'll get to hear that. But final thoughts for this episode of where we're at so far. Blue?
Dancing, I'm going to give this over to Dancing, actually. He says that I think they brought this up to be reminded of the Black Garden, especially since the stranger was originally the one pointing us towards it. It also works in as a tie-in for the announced meetup between Mara and the stranger. So that's a really good thought as well for the Jolian.
There's also a card, and I don't remember which one it is, and I read through it yesterday, that mentioned that the Black Garden had the original tree.
Okay.
I'll have to see if I can dig for it again. But
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
Any final thoughts for you, Saint, before we take a small break? I'll try to find that card later.
No, not that I know of.
Cool. Shout-outs?
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna give a shout out to Green, because if you haven't guessed by now, she did all the show notes on this one, and it's an amazing job. So I really appreciate her doing that and making it where we actually have an episode tonight. And then also my other shout out is for Cornholio from the Destiny show. He gave some really, really good information about the website situation and actually showed me how to use a couple different tools that I was not aware of, which actually helped kind of guide a more logical decision on what we were doing with that. So a really big thank you to that.
Saint, do you have any shout outs?
No. Well, what Blue said about Green putting the episode notes together, because I tried researching it and that was hard.
Yeah, I felt like the aliens guy a little bit, or is it The Office, the guy that has the sticky notes and the papers pinned?
Oh no, that's
Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Sunny from Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like that guy. I really, really wanted to see if I could find. I have a whiteboard that would take up a good portion of the wall behind me that I could just do that with, and I was really tempted to buy a poster board or do the whiteboard wall just so you guys could see what's in my head as what's going on, because it's a little crazy, and you're going to hear, I think, a lot more of that once we get into this advanced episode. But
when you told me the topic for this, I thought you meant like we're going to do a checkup on everybody.
Oh gosh, no. Nope.
And then I saw the show list. I was like, okay, thank goodness. I was starting to just write down bad one-sentence explanations of everything, so I would at least be a little funny about it.
Yeah.
Because there was no way I was going to be able to figure all that out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's been interesting. I thought about trying to do everybody, including like Callus, because he's gonna play a part in the future. So we've been led to believe, and a few of the other like slightly darker characters that are out there besides Zabathun. But I decided to just stick with the light side because it's a little easier to see where we're at compared to where everybody else is at.
The ones we're likely to actually deal with in Beyond Light, not like way later.
Yep. Cool. But Blue.
Well, as always, I want to thank you for your time, and until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer, stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring.
By the way, I found that card and I want to talk about it. I actually want to read this card for the next episode if we can.
Cool. I'm going to go get more water, but I will be right back.
And I need to go to the restroom, so I will be right back, chat. Saint, don't feel like you have to entertain chat or anything. If you need to take a break, please do so, and we will reconvene as soon as possible.
Y'all act like I'm entertaining.
You are. Be right back.
So just so y'all know, I actually don't have the stream pulled up, so I don't know what y'all are saying. I'm trying to pull it up now, but I'm having to watch a 30-second ad for Alienware. So, that's nice. What did that Minotaur ever do to you, Doom?
Okay, I am back. It's fighting a Minotaur? Minotaur. That makes more sense. Green became beard for a week. I kind of did Black Flag. I kind of did. It's more like for about 7 hours straight yesterday. What you think, Saint?
About what?
I don't know. I tend to use that as an opener just because it makes people come up with a topic so I don't have to.
Oh, okay.
It's a cheater. It's a cheater way of starting a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Okay, so Doom is not playing Destiny. Doom, are you playing like God of War or something?
Assassin's Creed Odyssey is what Doom is playing.
There's a Minotaur in Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
It's Greek.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was like mythology stuff. I thought it was just people. And then like the Spear of Leonidas did some fantasy stuff, but I'm gonna have to jump back in that then.
Maybe.
I don't know, it'd probably end up like a situation where I played Wildlands and then stumbled across the Predator. So that was interesting.
Interesting. Oh, Blue must be back. My video feed started back up. I have no control over my video feed, guys, so I don't know when I get to be on or when I am away. Furu, I'm gonna hurt you if I ever meet you in person, and if this becomes a reality, I'm going to shake your hand and possibly break your fingers in the process.
Gonna shake your hand and then punch you in the throat.
I mean, not that violent. I'm just going to be very. Oh, for civilization. So it is that Seed of Silver Wings card that talks about the second tree. When with the tree's parent felled in the Black Garden, this may be a rarely given opportunity. Night, pizza.
So is Vera saying that Jur is the same as SJUR Jur?
Well, Veru is saying that sure, SJUR turns into Zur XUR because he's a troll and a bad human being who wants to break my head.
I imagine a bunch of Twitter artists would be very upset if that was the case because they want Jur or SJUR to come in and just be like 7'2" and just jacked, which I would be down for anyway. But if it turned out to be a little hunched over Jur.
Jay, who was the guardian that broke Zur's back? Was it Wei Ning?
It was Orin.
I don't know if shit. It was Orin.
Yeah, because they had they had the silver vial.
That's right. That's right. For
real. Black Flag corrected me. It's 6'8", not 7'2". We're being realistic here.
Either way, if Jur, not Zur, Furu, I'm blaming you for that mess up. If Jur ever comes around, I imagine her to be like Yasha from Critical Role, who is a female barbarian, just this massive woman that you kind of want to hurt you.
I feel like she's going to be basically a female Shax if she ever shows up.
Oh yeah, she scared the snot out of Shax.
Yeah.
Hi, Tin.
So I mean, even though Aphrodite's still like she's built just like pretty much all the other, she's not huge or anything. Even Aphrodite's already just stupid strong. So imagine, someone even bigger than her.
It's gonna be intense. What you munching on, Jay?
An RX bar?
What's an RX bar?
I don't know. That's why I had to pull it out of the trash. It's something
to eat. Is it like black or like all black or all white or all purple with black lines across the front in kind of a doctor-esque format?
Yeah. It's like and I found some like mini ones. So
protein bars.
Basically, it's like a small boost.
Getcha. Have you read Seed of Silver Wings?
Not all the way through.
Either of you?
It's been a while, but
the fact that Ares gets verklempt with both Ikora and Asher.
No, Asher, not physically. I like how she can tell what the next response is gonna. That's how well they know each other.
Uh-huh.
My question is, at the end, which one's which?
That's really easy. Look at the header. So the Cinder is Mystic, which is Eris. The Scribe would be
Okay.
Asher,
Mm-hmm.
and the Gallant would be Ikora.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's actually really easy to figure out.
I
I
see
had
that
to kind of dig around in the card a bit for that one, but it's not too bad. But I want to bring up this card in particular when we talk about Eris, just because it has the information about the tree.
Mm.
A little bit more information in the Black Garden tie-in.
Which I still don't 100% understand the tree. But I guess I do, as much as most other people. But
I think the best explanation in lore is actually this card.
yeah,
Because Eris talks about what it is in some ways.
Yeah. Like, I understand the premise of it, growing, and it can either be light or dark or whatever. But just to me, it feels like the tree came almost out of nowhere. They just kind of like, oh, here's this really important thing. Just so y'all know. This thing that apparently has been a thing always. I probably just missed part of it, but
I don't remember if there's ever been a reference to a tree within the Black Garden before now. Do you remember?
No. I mean, I always took it to be the heart.
that it was just kind of an end result of a tree, kind of.
Well, and also if you look at the aesthetics of the seed as it grows, it's got a very similar structure to the
Okay.
heart. But I mean, so did the anomaly as well. So I mean, like, it's
the thing is, though, like Veru's talking about the same line that you just mentioned, Jay. She says there is a second tree, obviously. It has grown, and from it, the Guardian has taken a seed that we intend to use for study. With the tree's parent felled in the Black Garden, this may be a rarely given opportunity. I am only now beginning to record its most lightly guarded secrets. It's fluid in nature.
no, not physically.
I want to get into that. Do we want to do Eris first in the advanced episode, since I'm kind of want to dig into this card in particular there?
Sure. I defer to you. Before you break your computer.
Saint, are you ready?
Yep.
Cool.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on September 25th, 2020 over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat as we continue our discussion over the major players in the battle against the darkness. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who've signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
I promise I haven't run everybody off yet. It's Green. Hi.
And somehow they invited me back Saints Workshop.
Yes. And we are going down Green's crazy rabbit hole of where everybody's at in this cosmic war and tying up some loose ends lore-wise before we get to Beyond Light. So, if you will bear with me, I had promised you guys we would dive into Drifter, Eris, and the Nine. And I want to start with Eris. Because Eris is one of the linchpins, I think, for the oncoming struggle, considering what we know about the Beyond Light trailer. Not only is she a major player in that, she is also a major player priorly with Marasov. She's also been around a lot of different things with Shadowkeep. We love Morla. We love hearing Morla. We love Eris. let's have more creepy, sarcastic comments between Eris and Drifter, and I think we're going to get more of that, which is awesome. But Eris works with a lot of different people. Sometimes works well with them. Sometimes works reluctantly with them. And I think we should start her deal with Seed of Silver Wings. And if either Blue or Saint, I don't... Saint, would you like to read it? Do you have it pulled up?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, let's have you read this card, because this card, I think, got highly overlooked at the beginning of this season.
Malleable and hungry, speak not of what it becomes. Then there's some encoding talk. I'm not going to say that. To our little trio, I wrote out of concern and independently my findings. I sense the tension brimming at the forefront of our correspondence, and I feel a need to again impress upon you the gravity of our current standing. I understand the Vanguard's position. Contact has been made. I have felt it. I cannot ignore it, nor can I purge it. That much you should know. It is not a temptation. It is not a disease. It's an appeal to reason. I know you see the worth. Long have the Natanots delved into these questions. Where they went, I simply walk a parallel road. Do not abandon me in this. There is a little time, and it may be all we have left. Now, Akora, to the matter of your inquiry. Thank you for that, by the way. That you would not come yourself, I will say nothing. There's a second tree, obviously. It has grown, and from it the Guardian has taken a seed that we intend to use for study. With the tree's parent felled in the Black Garden, this may be a rarely given opportunity. I am only now beginning to record its most lightly guarded secrets. It's fluid in nature. No, Asher, not physically. It acts as an engine of integration, incorporating that which it contacts into its structure. It feeds from paracausal energy, the light, the dark. They are vying for dominance within its every particle. I wonder whether we are meant to enact a second unveiling, whether this is to be a peeling away of an existing nurtured within its bark. One in which we may play out of the paths that are not yet to come, or that are yet to come. There are many answers, but the question remains, by whom was it planted? I hope this message finds you in good health and less pain. I look forward to your thoughts. To the gallant, the mystic, the scribe, may our bond hold strong, ever sworn, Erismorn.
So this card really bothered me in a lot of ways. One, because it shows that Osiris, if Osiris was the one to indeed plant the seed at Mara's behest, that he did not tell Eris or Ikora or Asher, which granted, I don't think Osiris has much correspondence with Asher, but that information is not being shared anymore. So the trio that was initially used for Taking King doesn't actually work together very closely anymore, which is weird that Mara is not using Eris anymore, because she used Eris for so long that it makes you wonder why she stopped. Beyond that, there's also the fact that Eris feels that the tree itself is not only the second tree of its kind, which makes you wonder where the first tree was, which she says the tree's parent, which was felled, is killed in the Black Garden. And now they're able to study it more closely, which there's that theory that everyone thinks that the tree is creating the Traveler, right? Like that's one of the prevailing thoughts. If that's the case, the Traveler, it doesn't make sense, because the Traveler was already on Earth prior to us going to the Black Garden, unless somebody saw somehow the tree in the Black Garden. Like, how would we even know there was a tree? Because I don't remember a tree. Do you guys remember a tree?
I mean, unless the Traveler we have came from a tree we didn't really know about, and the one in the Black Garden was creating something dark, and we stopped it before it created that thing. But that would be a little convoluted to go through.
Right, but That
Because
also means
technically this traveler was also with the Elixni and all that. I mean, they could change it up and say that that was a different traveler, I guess, if they want to go with this theory that the traveler is made by trees, by these trees of silver wings. But if that's how they went, it would have the traveler definitely couldn't have come from the thing in the Black Garden, could it?
well, here's the other thing that the card mentions. It feeds from paracausal energy, the light, the dark. They are vying for dominance within its every particle. They are fighting. They are fighting within the tree itself. And you can see that with the way that the tree has both kind of that dark architecture on the outside as well as the light architecture.
Mm.
And if it's the same process that happened before within the Black Garden, but now it's happening on Io, what if the Black Garden won, the dark ended up winning then? And
That's
what
kind
created.
of. Hmm?
No, go
Well,
ahead.
oh, what I was gonna say was like that's kind of what I was saying was the one in the Black Garden, the dark had won, but we destroyed it before it created whatever it would have created for the dark. And then there was a different one from before that created the traveler because the light side won.
Mm-hmm.
And the traveler's been traveling, through the Elixni, through the ones that the hive destroyed first, pretty much. The traveler we have, as far as we know from what the information we have, we're pretty sure it's been around a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But so it would make sense that if it was created by a tree of silver wings, it was an old tree, and the one in the garden is not connected to it as far as it creating it, I guess. And then the fact that we didn't see anything be birthed from the thing in the Black Garden, maybe the dark won over in that tree, but we destroyed it before it actually created something.
Blue, where are you at on this?
I still think it's a reference to the black card.
Just in general?
Yes.
Just because the Black Garden itself is got all those petals and plants.
Well,
and...
I mean, so like Dancing's talking about this a little bit in chat. Hang on, let me switch back over there. He's like, Aldrin, when Aldrin entered the garden, whenever we see NPCs interact with the garden, it's very, very floral in language.
Mm-hmm.
When you had the cabal that Aldrin encountered with the they were getting literally infected with seeds, because they're like the cabal took its helmet off, which it killed itself, but when it took its helmet off, his entire head was embedded with seeds.
Right.
Aldrin talks about bringing back, I can't remember what it was, but it's basically what Queen's foil is made out of. Yeah. And then, but I mean, also if you look at like the concept art of the Black Heart, it's not a tree necessarily, but it is very similar in that structure. It's a very, I'd almost say vexified tree in a way. It has the structure of a tree. And then also, and I think Black Flag was making a comment. Yeah, there's like the plateau at the end of it. If you look at it, it has concentric rings. So technically, you could make an argument if you really want to go down a spin foil path that is a stump. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can slice and dice it. But I really like, assuming that the garden that she's talking about here is the Black Garden. The only big thing that we destroyed in the Black Garden was the Black Heart, or the Heart of or whatever. So I mean, to me, and like, yeah, here, let me see. There's like some really old. I don't know how to best describe this. I'm going to send this over to you guys so you can help me describe this, because it is a very old concept art. but it's basically like one of the original designs that we saw of like the black heart was not actually a heart as much as it was like a, what is that, like a D20 basically, or that would be a D.
No, that's like a D10.
Yeah, it's a D10. But like, but it's a hollow and it's got like this black center, this nebulous inside of it, and then there's branches coming out of it, and it still has that tree, that kind of architecturally tree structure around it, but it's much more. It looks much more like a branch, like branches, than what we actually saw in game. So
it looks like the nightmare tendrils from Shadowkeep is what it looks like.
Yes, yeah, for the branches and stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I mean. Like when you talk about the Black Garden, like everything kind of focused in on the heart. It was the tripwire that we sent. It was the all these different things were connected to that.
Right. But here's a random thought. But what if the Black Garden, the heart is not the tree itself, but the Black Garden is part of the tree? That the tree is so large.
I mean, that's I would agree with that too. Yeah.
It's just hard to know exactly what they're referring to because, like you and I are both describing, there's not necessarily a obvious tree within the Black Garden. Mm-mm. Which is frustrating.
I mean, I will say again, if you look at the plateau, like I'm trying to find a clip of it, but if you look at the location of the final fight, basically, like if you mm-hmm. if you look at it when you first spawn in, and I can't get a really good screenshot, it's actually infuriating me. But it does actually look kind of like a stump. I mean, it's not.
Black Flag found a really good quote. It says, this is from Aldrin. Whatever the heart of this place is, he said, pacing, it's a seed, I think. A seed left behind to grow, like a note of glimmer, or the idea strikes him as a thunderbolt, or a tripwire, bait to attract those who seek out and destroy what they do not understand.
Cough, cough, Guardian.
But we're not trying to destroy the tree now.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, and like, there's trees inside the Dreaming City. Oh.
That's true.
There's the trees inside the Dreaming City within like the Garden of Elysia, or Isila. Mm-hmm. There's the trees from the visions that we have. There's trees. There's like the tree of probabilities is one of the strikes that we have. I mean, trees mm-hmm. are not. They're not restricted to the garden by any means. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, I know chat's talking about there was something with one of Petra's dreams about a tree. I can't remember
Petra's, which one. I think she's only had like one or two dreams, but it was a
3-week cycle
in game.
Cycle, yeah.
I don't know. Hard to tell with that, just as far as what the tree actually is at this point. What Eris is doing, though. Go for it, Saint.
I was going to say, it's kind of hard to nail down exactly what qualifies as a tree silverwings. We have no idea what the scope of these things can grow to. We don't know what forms they can take, all sorts of stuff. So it's just kind of, we don't have enough information to nail down what is and isn't a tree of silverwings, pretty much.
Right.
But yeah, we should probably go ahead and head on to Eris.
You're good. Black Flag mentions one last thing on it. Exo Stranger says that destroying the darkness at the heart will begin the traveler's healing, which that's all the way back from D1 when the Exo Stranger convinces us to go destroy the heart. Eris has another connection That's pretty obvious to most of us who are currently playing the game or have played the game this season. It is Drifter. Drifter and Eris have the most hilarious relationship I have ever seen in game. Eris knows Drifter's original name. She calls him Germain. She also gives him grief left and right, as well as Drifter gives it right back. Blue, do you have we gathered those voice lines at all?
I haven't.
That's one would be hilarious
yet,
to do.
But like it's probably one of the few reasons I play Contact is because just listening to them shoot barbs at each other.
Yeah, there's also there's a lot of really good lore pieces in those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Yeah, none of them come to mind at the moment.
A ton talking about, like, especially when it was on Titan. When it's on Titan, Drifter knows a lot more than I think people give him credit for with history, because he talks about how Titan was one of the jewels of the Golden Age, and people would go to it and blah blah blah. And then of course he turns it into Drifter, where he's like, yeah, I don't know why it's freaking cold there. He's like, this is a jewel? Like, what type of jewelry are you? I can't remember the exact line, but it was like, and then, of course, Eris is like, well, blah, 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 blah. Then that just devolves into them bickering at each other.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny, though, is that Eris is the one to initiate that partnership.
Yes. Yeah, because she was the one who sought him out while he was on... That was...
He was in the Derelict.
Yeah, he was in the... I was trying to remember.
Slab.
Whispering. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I actually have that link in our show notes as well. Do you want to read that one, Blue?
Yeah, I can. Let me pull it up.
Because this is pretty funny. It's pretty fun. Pretty funny.
Pretty funny. All right, so it sings of sorrows that have not yet come to pass. Eris Morn walks with slow, silent steps towards a haggard Drifter, shoving small bags into larger ones. Dim and exhausted motes lie scattered throughout the derelict, slowly evaporating. She retrieves a mote from the floor and shines her burning light over the cracked surface. The light struggles to leave the cracks. She lets the disintegrating mote drop and shatter into dust against the floor grates. It chimes like resonant glass. The Drifter whirls around to face the noise, almost losing his footing. He lets his hand slide off his holstered trust as recognition washes over him. Ain't anybody ever tell you not to skulk? It's rude. Noted. Are you vacating? Road trip. How'd you get in here anyway? The airlock was open. Uh-huh. If I said I were here to run in your rat race, would it change your tune? Uh-huh. Eris drops her shoulders and approaches the Drifter. I want your help. Uh-huh. His brow furrows with suspicion. Why? Didn't you save the universe yet? Drifter turns back to shoving bags and bags. It seems to be continually in peril. To be honest, I'm not sure I've helped. Eris hands him a bag. I need your knowledge. You? No. I have had some troubling experiences as of late. Yeah, it's called life. I need to know, she says and hesitates, half-hearted restraint preceding sacrilege. Tell me how to interpret the darkness. What am I, some crusty woo-woo sage? Beat it, kid. I'm packing. Do not ignore me, Eris says. Her voice is calm and piercing. We've both seen beneath the surface. Drifter drops the pack in his hand and picks a jade coin off his workbench. Asher is entrenched in his thinking, she says, and gently places a palm down on the workbench beside them. Ikora, she tries. She hears, but she doesn't understand. No one is listening. Drifter pockets the coin and turns to face her. He stares deep. Experience. Hell of a thing. He looks down the gangway of the derelict and through the gate that would take him to his hall. Favors ain't free. I do this, you owe me. Eris nods. Drifter swipes the workbench clean and pulls out a retractable seat for himself. How long you got? The two sit, they speak, they listen. Linkages formed in light and dark of traded secrets as the derelict hangs in orbit around the earth. Pacts are made. Soon there is only the silence of knowing left between them. Next time you fly over the moon, dust your boots, tracking that crap all over my floors. Eris shakes her head and moves towards the airlock. Drifter yells after her, and call next time. I could have blown those fancy eyes straight off your face. I'll try to be more mindful of your many eccentricities in the future.
Eris and Drifter.
Black Flag. I bet she teleported in.
She probably did, knowing her. But Eris knows, Drifter knows a lot more than he's letting on. And why does Drifter know those things? Experience. What kind of experience does Drifter have? A lot more than most people seem to remember.
I mean, he's been alive since the Dark Ages, so...
And also someone who never chose, really. Never chose to throw in with the light. And Drifter, that's actually do you remember the Drifter cutscene where everyone freaked out because they thought it was Shen with him playing cards?
Yeah, the dredging got threatening him and then getting just thrown over the side by Captain.
Mm-hmm.
If only we knew that's how annoying taking captains were going to be.
Oh, that taking captain was nothing compared to the taking captains in Gambit. That taking captain was a peach and wasn't doing anything.
Didn't even have a shield. He just grabbed him and threw him.
Oh no, there was nothing. He approached, but then the pocket dimension portal burst and pulled him away, and replacing that was the emissary.
Oh,
because the emissary gets rid of the taking captain.
Yeah.
And that was the instance that we knew that Gambit was a creation purely of drifters, that the Nine basically took over in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the emissary says at the end of that clip is, "You have proven yourself worthy, accept the gift from the Nine." And that line has always bugged me, and it was something that made me wonder, what makes him worthy of the Nine's help. I think it's the same thing that him and Eris have in common, the fact that they understand that light and dark aren't good and bad, that you need one to use the others. Yeah. One of Blue's favorite cards is actually one I want to get into after the break. So let's do that real quick, and then we will dive into the illicit Reaper Bond. And illicit Reaper Bond, Blue, that we talked about this the other day whenever I brought it up, the fact that Drifter kit bashed all those ghosts on the outer rim, or what did he call it in that card? Out there,
the outer edge.
When Drifter's out there with his, I don't know if they were actually fire teammates or anything, but they were out there. He just refers to him
as their crew, as his crew.
Right. The Red War kicks off. They lose all their light, and so Drifter takes care of things.
Yeah,
I don't know. How would you describe it?
Yeah, he basically they actually got trapped before the Red War. So he says, his crew had been stuck in a prison of our own making, dying over and over from the cold on a frozen rock out in the deep black, hounded every day by the indigenous life that could erase our light just by being near us, life that we were hoping to capture to help us in battles of light versus light. And so blah, blah, blah. And basically he goes on to say, just as tensions between our group reached critical mass, that's when the Red War kicked off and they took out the Traveler. And he says, even out in space, it cost us our light, but we didn't know that. We all felt it, blamed each other without saying a word. And so then there's the scene where basically it's the whole, the good, the bad, and the ugly scene where it's the group kind of all staring at each other, and then someone drew, and Drifter was the one that walked away. he was the one that survived. And he went on to say that that's about the time that his ghost snapped, and just like his ghost just lost it pretty much. Now I think that's also probably because if you remember our ghost handling the Traveler being shut down, it was not a good time for Ghost. The Ghost was very, very in a bad shape. So he says, where is it? He says, the craziest thing happened. My ghost snapped. I think all this time my ghost was hoping I would fall in line, that I just needed time to take up the mantle of the Traveler, my birthright. But that had never happened. It took hundreds of years, but my ghost finally flipped. How? Well, our escape was all its idea. If we could modify its light to replicate the energy effect of the monolith cages, it might be able to contain the creatures in the same way. But we would need parts. Ghost parts. And we knew where we could get some. The ghosts of my former crew all fled as soon as their charges hit the dirt. So me and mine, we hunted them. Then it came time to perform the modifications. He goes on, and actually Drifter is the one that's hesitating. It's Ghost, and of course this is all from Drifter's story, so take it with a grain of salt. But Ghost is the one that tells Drifter to do it, to Frankenstein it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does. He says, so I began, sparks flying around me as I cut into its armor. If I died to the cold before I finished, it would all be lost. It spoke over the din of the work. And then the last thing that my ghost ever said, and he says the last lie it ever told, was, hey, there's always hope. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Which is really kind of sad. The next morning, it was forever changed, but it had a brand new shell of armor reinforced by the guts of 5 other ghosts. Its eye was bright red. It could no longer speak.
Here's a point of order that I've just made a connection to that I've never connected. If Drifter Frankenstein the Ghost during the Red War, he was not the Guardian chasing Ada 1. Because Ada 1 and Henriette happened during the collapse. And Drifter's ghost did not have a red eye until during the Red War.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, yeah, that's true. That's problematic in a number of different ways.
That would be odd for them to make that distinction for Drifter and that particular ghost and then make them not related. But it does make sense that they're not related.
The thing is, that just means there's somebody running around with another ghost that has a red eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or had another ghost.
It also begs the question of everyone assumes that it's the kit bashing that did the red eye, but what if it's not?
What if it's more of the ghost itself snapping rather than the kit bashing?
I also just love the fact that Drifter's ghost literally ate other ghosts.
It specifically calls out the red eye as an alteration the next morning, though.
Right. But I'm just saying, if another Guardian is running, well, I mean, I guess you could also argue that another Guardian kit bashed to get. I don't know. There's a couple interesting difficulties that lie in that there. Yeah, and Asher's ghost also has a red eye. Any of the Siva infected ghosts have red eyes, if I remember correctly.
I think the thing with the red eyes, though, is actually the line that you had just gotten up to when you stopped reading the Reaper Bond, is that ghosts could now tap into spectrums of light no one on Earth had yet seen, spectrums beyond the light. Don't get me wrong, I'm no herald of the dark. This was a kit bash job, but it was a renaissance for us, Gambit Banks, Modes of Dark, and Derelict. They were all innovated out of that red setting. It is a setting on the ghost, not necessarily the kit bashing itself. The fact, because doesn't he talk about how the ghost has flicked back and forth, or
Yeah,
is
he
it
says the blue
always
setting.
red?
Blue setting is still there, accessible whenever we needed it, but the red setting would save our lives. It could
So
replicate. It could replicate the energy of the cages, which is interesting
this,
because he didn't touch the cages to kit bash it. He simply touched other ghosts.
which makes me think that with Beyond Light, this is how we can actually use our ghost for stasis.
Yes, agreed. That's why when we were talking about stasis the other day, maybe you weren't on the episode. Maybe it was with Orchid. I made a comment basically when we were talking about when we get stasis. I'm like, I'm curious what happens to the ghost when we start channeling stasis. What are we going to see in the ghost? Because as they keep going back and forth, stasis is an element born out of darkness. So what does that mean?
I still say, go for
it also begs the question of why, if there's a whole, we're not sure if the ghost came directly from the traveler, but if they did, why would they have, even if it's a really small one, the ability to channel dark or have that red setting?
Too.
That does lend to the idea that the traveler didn't make the ghosts, or they didn't come directly from the traveler.
I really, really want them to go the Clovis Bray route. I really want them to say that.
Which it would be pretty nutty to find out that they made the ghosts and the exos and all this other stuff. But
I mean, the fun thing about it being the Clovis Bray route is that literally this card right here describes Drifter Clovis Braying a Clovis Bray project.
Yeah.
Also, chat has made me realize that ghosts could possibly be mini Daleks. So I'm happy about that.
I'm not super familiar with
So Daleks are Doctor Who, and it's basically like they're like the most extreme xenophobes in the entire universe, basically, and they anything that's not a Dalek they need to kill.
Okay,
but
so
at the core of
Warhammer.
Yeah, pretty much, except a lot more efficient. And they're also really funny looking. But at the core of a Dalek is a little like organic ball. It's like Craig from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is it Craig or Craig? Is it Craig?
Crag.
No. Crane. But yeah.
Okay. You're talking about those, or they're just the robots on wheels with just a turd-looking thing sticking out front.
The egg beater and the egg beater and the
trash can with a gun sticking out of it.
That's actually an old sci-fi reference that Doctor Who pulled back to.
Yes.
Like, what is? I don't remember the name of the original character, but it was the same idea from that old sci-fi show. But if the ghost are literally just the shell that has multiple settings, because it is just literally a mechanical thing, not a quote-unquote being, and has a setting for both red eye, able to filter light beyond normal light, or quote-unquote darkness or whatever, or the light spectrum that we know with solar, arc, and void. I really, really want them to make it Clovis Bray, and it makes me wonder if the exos with that new cutscene that came out, or the new trailer that came out, with the fact that the exos and the Vex are back to back, and they're linking them closer together, makes me wonder where the technology for Ghost came from originally. If we kit bashed to make exos based off of the Vex design.
Well, and that's what Chat and I are talking about right now. It's like, so if you look at exos as a kit bashed response, so we basically Wayland Utani'd our exos from the Vex, because remember also exos were primarily designed as war machines. Well, what are they fighting? The Vex. That's kind of that they took the weapons of the enemy and made their own enemy, or made their own weapon. But Chat and I, Dancing and I, are talking in chat about this right now, about how, there's a lot of similarities between Rasputin and between the energy signatures that we see within the Traveler and the Ghost. And so, Ghost orb mode, which resembles the AI orb mode of Rasputin, is light blue, just like the energy of the Traveler on Io. So, and Dancy's like, I have a strong suspicion that the Traveler's energy was used by Clovis Bray to create Ghost, and their memories are mainly coming from that energy. So it's like a transference of memory, which would make it. I know a lot of people have said this, and I've kind of always had this as well in the back of my head, that it would make a lot of sense, because it would explain a lot of the connections that are inherently present within the Exos and the Vex, and then also the Ghost and the Traveler, because they definitely share similar components. But then you also have to realize that Clovis Bray has their fingers in a lot of different pies, and that it wouldn't be. I mean, we've seen this trope in so many different sci-fis that I would be very surprised if we don't get a degree of something like that.
I mean, if they really wanted to take it like really far, they could set it up where, since the Vex are basically time traveling Terminator robots, they could, if they really wanted to, make it where Clovis Bray even made the Vex. They could say like, oh, Clovis Bray made them, but when they figured out the time travel stuff, they went back way before Clovis Bray was a thing, and also it could be a Clovis Bray from a different timeline.
That would be an interesting series of paradoxes to deal with.
The Vex are basically Exos from a different timeline.
Yeah, but
they made way better war machines.
I still argue that they're not time traveling. I don't think we have time travel. I think we have reality jumping, which is a different way without the paradoxes. The other thing Dancing is bringing up about the Ghost is that this also would explain very nicely the problem that Ghosts have in memory handling with Exo Guardians.
There's also multiple scannables on Nessus as well as Io, tying both Exo and Vex together.
Yes. Yeah.
Confluences that have very similar patterns to Exos. There's one in particular, I think it's in the Tangled on Nessus, that you can scan that talks. If you're an Exo, it has a very different line than if you were anything else.
Well, they also they could, or it might all. My screen went blank for a second, but
yeah, you cut out for a moment.
Okay, but they could set up where, how we're talking about how the Ghosts have that second red eye setting. Don't Exos have that sort of thing too? Back when they were just Exos, not Exo Guardians necessarily, but where Clovis Bray could take over an Exo and make them be subservient.
Rasputin had an option to be able to utilize that.
Rather than being a little smidgen of dark setting, it could be, Exos getting to walk around and be people, and then they could flip that switch, and then they're the war machine again, sort of thing.
It's possible, but I think the big thing with Drifter in this scene in particular is that Drifter has been utilizing both light and dark much longer than a lot of people have. And there was a line that I think it was Black Flag brought up earlier about how it's from a contact. What was it from? Where is it at? Invitations Week 1. Only 2 others have transcended their design. The first, an hourglass counting down with infinite patience. The second, a forgotten blade sharpened anew. And now the Dredgen. Invitations Week 1. That Invitations was Invitations of the 9. And Drifter and Eris are likely both included in that one, as well as Elsie is the other one that is possible, the Exo Stranger.
Or Mara.
Yeah, or Mara. Mara's another good option for that, which ties those 3 together fairly well. And if they are the ones that are transcending their original purpose of being outside of this dogma, which is something that Drifter calls out multiple times to us, even in game, that says, from, I believe it's that same invitation, maybe not the same week, but Drifter replies, "I told you not to look into the emissary and you did it anyway. You know how many people I killed for less? Shut up, don't answer that. I don't need the sass right now. I'm in over my head, kid. Emissary and her friends showed me what's coming, and it's what I feared all along. Put aside your dogma. The fight that's coming can't be won with light alone. Gambit's your salvation and mine. See you on the field." Which Gambit initially, I don't think Gambit was initially meant to be that. Do you think Gambit was a way for Drifter to teach others to utilize or not be afraid of the darkness by using the darkness against another team? Do you think he had that much forethought, or was it a get-rich-quick scheme?
I mean, it does seem likely that more started out of him hoarding all the, I guess you'd say, dark power that is created from it, or is harvested from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe realized he stands a better chance if he has some people out there who kind of agree with him. Yeah.
It makes me wonder if Drifter initially used it as a way for him to get more powerful, because he doesn't use the light alone. Yes, we did have Gambit prior to the interactions with the Nine, because that whole cutscene that I talked about earlier is when the Nine give him the Hull, and he talks specifically in that cutscene about Gambit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Blue had mentioned something in a chat with me. Yeah. I don't know if we had it as players, but Drifter had Gambit already fleshed out.
Well, Invitation of the Night happened in Season of the Drifter, and we had Gambit from Forsaken, so...
Did we, though? Or did it come in Season of Drifter?
We had Gambit Prime in Season of the Drifter.
Ah, gotcha.
But the original Gambit was launched with Forsaken.
So the Nine add the Hull to Drifter because they see him as worthy, because Drifter knows how to use light and dark. So the Nine use Drifter to teach Guardians the same lesson that he's learned, which now, because of us using the Gambit banks and understanding that, we're using it to gather darkness again, a slightly modified version of darkness in the contact events. So the contact motes are a different color. They're like that orange color, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the contact event is really using true darkness, and what we've been gathering in Gambit has just been ascendant darkness or ascendant energy, that it makes me wonder if Drifter didn't necessarily know that what he was doing, that the Nine manipulated him into preparing us for this. Yeah, he's built everything himself. He is quite the engineer.
Well,
yes.
And we knew that too, because that was, I mean, he kit bashed a ghost. I mean, first off, but he also yeah, go for it.
Were you going to mention the sundial?
Well, I was actually going to mention the crew out on the outer edge, because he was kind of like one of the engineers that helped with that. Like he kind of built ships, and like he was a tinkerer. Kind of like a darker version of Amanda, basically, is the way I kind of felt.
He also consulted Osiris when Osiris was building the sundial, which ties him back to Osiris in such a funny way that why does Osiris
if you break the universe, don't call me.
Yeah, like Drifters knew about the sundial before the sundial was even utilized. He is as much involved in the entire story as Mara is, and that is terrifying because he has no stinking clue how much he's involved in everything. He's not
He seems like the guy who keeps stumbling into everybody that has something really important going on, while Mara intentionally puts herself there.
The thing is like, does Drifter actually know what his role in is all of this? Or is he just the bumbling fool that just gets lucky all the time and has just that luck factor?
So, I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I think if he had the option, he would have never gotten involved in any of this. But now that he kind of realizes he has to go all the way. It's all or nothing sort of situation. I mean, he needs to kind of secure his spot in this so he can know what's coming. Sort of. I mean, it's the best position for him to be, since his whole thing as of right now is basically to just survive. And what better way to survive than be one of the main people who this whole thing depends on, you know?
This is true. This is true. Trying to think. Because the last group that we've kind of mentioned on and off is the 9 themselves in their play in all of this. And we've kind of talked about how they're using Drifter. They've had contact with Mara. But what else they have their fingers in, there's not a whole lot there. But I want to talk about them a little bit more after a quick ad break. Okay, so what the 9 have been up to. They've got Drifter doing Gambit Prime. They're tied directly to him and a much more physical presence than anything else because of the Hall. They've answered our question of what is the dark, or what is the darkness, which is the prophecy dungeon. If you haven't played that, I highly suggest you do so, because not only is it a fun dungeon, a beautiful dungeon, but it is hugely suggestive lore-wise. There's also an interaction with Orange showing up at Mara's during one of the weeks there when we were back in the Dreaming City, where we interrupt that visit slightly. Do you remember when that week happened and how the community freaked out on that? That was... Oh, Mara's working with the 9. We're
I
all
didn't
gonna
remember
die.
it until you brought it up.
Yeah.
I don't
So they've
remember
worked
which
with Mara.
week it was, but I do remember it.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere like 4 or 5.
It was up there with the whole fourth wall thing.
Oh yeah.
During the invitations of the 9 fourth wall, or which one?
The invitations where she's like, he/she, whichever gender you're playing, has the ability to step outside the game, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 9 in my mind are essentially the devs in game. They are playing all the cards and pulling all the strings and dancing around and controlling everything from their little realm. It's not necessarily a direct correlation there, but that's how I've always viewed them, as kind of a mystical figure outside the Deus Ex.
Mm-hmm.
But so the 9 have connections to Drifter, they have connections to Mara. We don't know if they have connections to the Exo Stranger. Do they have connections to Eris?
I don't think we've seen anything clearly between them, but because they're connections to the other characters, they have secondary connections. Like, they have connections to Eris through their connection to Osiris and to Mar. Like, it gets into the degrees of bacon.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like so many people have had this interconnective web of what they're doing, whether it's Eris, Mara, Drifter, the 9, Osiris. Those, I would say that Mara, Eris, Drifter, and Osiris are like the four big players that are physically moving about and knowing that, maybe not Drifter, knowing that he's moving about in the big plays. Drifter is just so, part of me wonders if he knows, because he's smart enough. He actually is a quite intelligent guy. He just plays the fool, which is like slightly more scary.
It's hard to tell whether he wants us to think he doesn't know what's going on, or if he just doesn't know what's going on, and he wants to keep it that way. He wants us to not know if he knows what's going on, because it's beneficial to him, I guess.
Which has slightly backfired on him a few times, because he's been the one who's warned us about working with specific characters, whether it be the Nine or someone else. And because we always see him as the buffoon or the fool, we don't necessarily follow his decisions in that.
But, I mean, when did we listen to anyone who we didn't consider a fool when they tell us not to do something? I mean...
We don't even listen to Zavala, and I don't think any of us think he's necessarily a fool outright.
I mean, Osiris told us not to go after Saint 14 either. We don't consider Osiris a fool, but...
Osiris did send us after Saint 14.
But it was like, no, you can't do it, but he wanted us to, I guess. But, I mean, pretty much every single time we've been told no in-game, we've ended up doing that thing.
You don't tell me what to do. Guardians, the ultimate teenagers.
If I can't die, then why would I not?
Something like that. Beyond that, though, I don't know. Is there anybody else that you guys want to talk about connection-wise? The Nine are... The biggest thing with the Nine is their discussion on what the darkness is during the prophecy dungeon, and how they use Gambit to teach us to utilize the dark more and understand the dark. Like, they've been slowly shaping us to use the dark more. But beyond that, I have nothing with the Nine in the current standing.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Blue?
Nope. I think that you did an excellent job.
I think I need more red tape.
I'm going to regret this.
You mean red string?
Tape is more permanent.
Yeah, that's why you use string. It's because then when things change, you don't have to rip everything apart.
It's therapeutic at that point just to rip everything apart, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's how life feels at this point, is just rip it right off. Just pull the hair out with the skin a little bit. But point of order on just how these stories have interlocked together. I remember doing an episode with you, Blue, on the Rezalazir stories.
Uh-huh.
And how the delivery of that specifically was just over a long period of time, and we got pieces of the story that didn't line up timeline wise. Like, it wasn't one came after the other. We had to piece them together. A lot of this feels very similar, especially within Drifter story, because information about Drifter and the ghost kit bashing came out back during when Gambit Prime became a thing with Season of the Drifter. The information that we have more nowadays, now what we know with Contact Event and everything going on with us getting more connected to the darkness, it really helps flesh out what those cards actually mean, and how words like the fact that the ghost has a setting means a lot more now that we know that we're going to be utilizing stasis, and how we were asking, how can our ghost process it? That may be the answer right there. So it's interesting how they have piecemealed the story together to where we're getting a clearer picture. And I don't know if it was on purpose to be that way, or if it was something that they were putting together as they went and try to figure out how to make it fit together.
Mm-hmm.
My string wall looks nothing like what Bungie's probably does, because they have connected so many of these characters together in very weird ways that I know they have a Bible. They have a lore Bible. I want to see that lore Bible.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think that I think that at this point, as with a lot of different things, I feel like I've said this about a lot of different, not just Destiny, but like, you know, whether or not, I'll just say this, whether or not it was intentionally, you know, or stumbled upon, it's still the story as we know it, and the end product is what we should analyze and focus on. You know, I know that's where the death of the author is what that's commonly referred to as. It kind of puts aside the real, a good example taking out of Destiny is Harry Potter. I don't have to agree with what the author says because that person's trash. I can enjoy the product because it's, you know, what is said is in the book. It's, you know, and so you can always have, you know, a lot of people come back and be like, well, the author says this. It doesn't matter what was in the text, what was in the book or the story or whatever, what was actually published says X, Y, and Z. Any information extraneous to that can help flavor our decisions and help flavor our interpretation, sure, but that's not as canonically empowering as, you know, the actual story. And so that's what like with the Res Lazir, that's what made that so enjoyable, was that the canonical development of that story was very close to our own discovery of information within reality. And it was just, it felt like we were actually learning more. And I know John, when we talked to John about it, he, you know, his explanation was like, it's like, you know, uncovering the pyramids. And, you know, you're like, okay, I got it. We've figured it out. And then some idiot trips and falls through a wall and opens an entirely new chamber. And they're like, ah, crap. Like, what is this? Like, what is this nonsense that changes everything? Right. And that was, right. I mean, and that was experientially, that was what that story was. And that's kind of what you see, I think, what you're kind of alluding to here. That's where we kind of see that here. And I love that sense of like, okay, get comfortable with what you know, but just like in reality, it can change in the blink of an eye. So you have to be okay with that. Like that kind right. of that chaos, I guess.
It's all about context, right? Like we had the wrong context with the initial card. Like we did not know what the illicit reaper, was it the bond? I can't remember which one it was. I'd have to look through the show notes again. But the illicit
mark?
Reaper,
the one that we read. Mark? Yeah, I
the
think
one
it's
that we
the
read.
mark because it's got the Titan butt.
Right. That was the hold-fast mark. But
sorry, same difference.
The illicit reaper card that we had read through, where it talks about Drifter's experience with the ghost and everything, the context for that was so remote. It was such a small part of the story. And now that we have more of the story fleshed out, the context has changed because of what we have experienced as players. It was the bond. Thank you. Because of the context changing. Same thing with the Res Lazir story. The context within the Res Lazir story continued to change as the cards came out.
Yes, very much so.
Because of that. And so we were able to understand a little bit more of the, not necessarily emotional tie-in, but the empathetic tie-ins that are going on within the cards. And we can understand if you understand a little bit of the empathy and be able to be empathetic with the person, your understanding of that person goes up, which allows you to make inferences. Because we have more context now, we can understand those inferences a little bit more clearly and not just have it be a random part of the story that we're getting for no reason, and understand that it is part of the bigger story. That's the fun thing that I'm enjoying, is that something that was so random is now actually being used in a much bigger way than I could ever imagined it would have been. But I think we should actually wrap up for this episode as well. You guys have let me ramble enough, and I need a glass of hot tea before I go to bed because my throat is tired. Blue.
Yes. We should wrap up. Sorry, I was asked a question in chat and I was trying to find the answer. So shout out,
focused, guys.
Yeah,
very focused.
I was trying to figure out something. Shout outs. I'll just repeat my shout outs. Like Green, huge thank you and a big shout out to the immense amount of work that went into really breaking down the parts of this episode that has turned into an analysis of the Drifter's character and how he is Matt Cawthon from the Wheel of Time. Just huge shout out.
Drifty Boy is more important than you think, guys.
Yep.
And
then
why
also,
you should have picked him during the Vanguard thing.
If I knew I was going to be called snitch for the next 2 years, I might have made a different decision. I made the decision I made. Drifter and the Vanguard doesn't care at all. They're kind of like, oh, you pick Drifter, but if you pick Vanguard, Drifter,
he's like,
we'll still hang out with you, but he won't let you forget it.
He's like, I remember you.
Also, if the episode that I know that was recorded on Spinfoil Theory is legit, like, Spinfoil Theory, they come up with the crazy ideas. Their latest episode they recorded was on the idea that a character that shows up to Spider, I think it's Whalers.
Oh yeah. The Warlock?
The Warlock
that's looking
shows
for
up
armor.
to Spider.
Mm-hmm.
No. That she isn't looking for armor. Basically it's like a throwdown where Spider is the mob boss. It's like, I can clean away all this kind of thing.
Okay.
No one will know what happened. They're claiming, Spinfoil Theory podcast, if you guys haven't checked out Taylor B and not Waffles. Is it Waffles?
Bagels.
Bagels, thank you. I knew it was a food.
Yeah, it's a breakfast food.
Bagels and Taylor B and Wicked broke down the idea of, is it Honor in that card who got her fire team killed but didn't want anybody to know about it?
Oh.
I kind
of hope not, because I kind of like Honor, but
it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there. I could see a connection more being with like Sola.
Yeah. I argued that they're not necessarily, but we were talking about the Vanguard choice, whether or not picking Drifter was a good idea or not. And if Honor is actually kind of a bad guy in disguise, makes me a little happy because I picked Drifter, because Drifty Boy is, at least, he may not be the brightest, but I know where he stands.
You know where Honor
stands,
too.
You can trust in the fact that you can't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be betrayed by someone you never trusted.
So anyways, shout out also to the Mars quest. That was a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dancing, for reminding us of that. That was an amazing quest. Very short, but very much worth it.
One bone.
Yeah.
This guy must have hated hunters.
Yeah. The anti-snake.
Yeah, no snakes.
The anti-snakes.
No snakes. I nearly messaged you when I saw that, because I was like, was he a Titan?
I didn't make that connection at first. I think it's funny that it's not like one class was great. No, it's just specifically...
I hate hunters. Yeah. It may not have actually been that. It may have been...
I literally just didn't like snakes?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Justin doesn't like snakes, and he's a hunter, so... But...
Yeah, but Justin's weird.
That's also very true. Green, what about you? What about shout-outs for you?
My shout out goes to actually Critical Role. Many of you who follow me on Twitter have known that I've kind of dove back into the critter world, and that's something that they have started up very recently, as of yesterday, from the time that we recorded, which is 9:25 is today, or 9:25 is today. They started up a foundation where the Critical Role Foundation, they're picking charities that they believe in, and the first charity that they are working with is a charity to help native people, indigenous people throughout the US and a little bit abroad with the effects of COVID, because a lot of their financial support has been cut off recently. So my shout out goes to them for not only just being awesomely funny people that are also great storytellers. There was a major cliffhanger last night that I watched 3 times today because holy moly. But they're also very good people who have done multiple charities throughout the years that are not only related to creative writing, but also just being kind to people. Their whole premise is leave the world a little better than you came in, kind of thing. Leave the world a better place. So shout outs to them and that foundation. You can find them at critroll.com. Saint, do you have any shout outs?
Actually, I was going to say, so about a month and a half ago, I'd say, or a little longer, my only computer decided it did not want to be a computer anymore and just quit. It blue screened and I couldn't figure out what to do. So I wanted to shout out to GMD Geek and Unforsaken J. They're both streamers and on Twitter, and they have their own podcast called like Press What to Join, I believe. And their group, between them two, mainly helped me out a ton figuring out how to fix it. They helped me fix it, and then they also took me through my first raids and where I got Anarchy. So shout out to them for that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, you have Anarchy. I don't have Anarchy, though I dislike that raid because I hate the Sparrow racing.
He had a boss checkpoint and let me join him on that, so that's what we did. I haven't done the full raid yet, so I need to.
Actually, it is fun, but it is frustrating as all get out because you end up hating your teammates more than you hate the raid because your teammates run into you while you're on the Sparrow and mess up your run, making everybody wipe.
Nice.
Yes. Blue.
Well, as we has come to be the custom, I want to thank you for your time, and until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer, stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring.
Woot. And Audacity off. Blue, you're going to be proud of me. My wavelengths are quite large.
Yay!
That is the probably oddest thing I've told you recently.
Right, I was about to say recently, yes. Maybe. I'd have to... I don't know.
Oh, man. Still need to do that for Black Armory Sparrow.
Yeah, whenever they announced, or by the time I realized that Chronicler was going away, I realized I can no longer get it. So that was a little sad, but I probably wouldn't have gotten it anyway. But yeah, that was one I really wanted, but I probably wouldn't have put in the work to get it anyway.
I haven't gotten Chronicler because I have refused to go do the Ahamkara bones and the eggs.
Believe me, after Pins and I did it, I completely sympathize with you. There's 2 of them that are an absolute pain in the ass. Like there's 2 of them that just like I don't know how Pins did it. To be honest, like because it took some inventive jumping to get, and
see,
yeah.
With how I'm feeling whenever I even just started trying to do the Savathun eyes for Ruinous Effigy, I can't imagine doing those eggs.
Those are actually, the Ruinous Effigy was not bad. The eggs, I don't know. So I still have, I think, two.
I have the
Two or
4 from
three.
the dungeon that I still need to do.
Which I
Yeah.
still need to go and actually get the bow. I haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, the bow is so much fun.
Yeah.
And there's
And I use bows a lot more nowadays than I used to.
yeah, I'm biased. I am absolutely biased.
Which I can't use the bow with my favorite loadout that uses a bow because I use Telesto.
Gotcha. You could use Arsenic Bike's still a secondary. I'm trying to think.
I use that no
any
turning back
primary.
mainly.
Yeah, Whispering Slab you could use. That's a primary bow.
The surfboard.
Yeah, I like the precision frame a lot, especially with the explosive heads on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just run my whole hunter setup is to make it where I don't have to shoot at anybody directly. So I just stick trapper, trip mines, explosive knife, Telesto, and then sometimes you can just finish them off with the explosion from a arrowhead.
Nice.
That's a lot of fun.
The thing that I've noticed, I've been playing on PC a lot more often because I got a new laptop, and bows are actually a lot harder to use on PC than they are on PlayStation. Like I can drop a 40 game on PlayStation using a bow, but on PC I feel like I can't, just because the tempo is so much faster there.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm having to sweat up a little bit, I don't run a bow and a fusion rifle because having 2 charge time weapons doesn't work out very well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll usually run like a hand cannon or something with it if I'm really having to try, but I usually only play my hunter in like 6s and stuff. So
yeah, same. Have you read the TWAB? Sorry, Blue.
TWAB about?
The Viru's asking if Blue's read the TWAB.
Oh, okay.
It was some techno stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's when I had the minor heart attack about the dungeon.
That was the whole thing that you were like, they explained it on Reddit, but not.
Yeah, I was like, really? So they made a comment that the dungeon is going away. Did not specify the time that they're just like, oh yeah, this is why it's unavailable. And like reading it, having no knowledge about this, I read it and I read that in present tense, and I was like, wait, what? Like, what? I didn't know the dungeon was not there.
The update, it just.
And so then it's like, they're like, yeah, it's not going to come back until the end of the year. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that means that if you rely on the dungeon, like you're doing for the, I don't know, title, you're shit out of luck.
You're bound. Yeah.
And so then I was like, and so I sent Green a panicked email or panicked message. And I was like, what the hell? And so then I like type it. So I go and find a thing on Reddit from like 2 months ago where they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to take it down after the season and then we'll bring it back maybe later.
Which is sad because it's a really good dungeon.
No, yeah, right. My frustration was entirely from the mechanics of the entire communication of this thing, because I'm like, so I had to dig through the archives of Reddit to find out information that your official blog, that is the official distribution point of communication, does not have. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Black Flag says if you check the trailer on YouTube, it tells you it's going away at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that in the trailer.
Yeah, I definitely would have been upset because I still haven't went in and got my Gundam helmet yet for my Titan.
I need one eye at the end.
Yeah,
We'll be done.
I really get tired of those kinds of situations where I'm going around just having to find things to shoot to do a counter. I don't know why that specific thing makes me not want to do them so much. But yeah, I did like 3 of the eyes. I was like, okay, this is enough of that. I'll come back to it. And I never did.
Well, I mean, the thing is with the eyes, at least it was a good way, to work on the catalyst, because you got your catalyst partway through. which makes it a very fun weapon to use in PvE. Like I watch Cole uses Ruinous Effigy almost exclusively now in PvE, and basically she makes a ball and she runs with the ball expanded on top of enemies, and that's she does it the entire encounter. Like she rarely fires the weapon except to make a new ball. That is all she uses it for.
I mean, now with Traveler's Chosen, I'm not even using my sword build really. I just use Traveler's Chosen enough to get the Missile Titan melee back. Jump up with Syntheseps or whatever melee I'm using. I sometimes use Doom Marchers and smash, kill like 3 more enemy or a few more enemies with Traveler's Chosen, and then get my melee back. But between that and my sword build, I haven't used it much in PvE.
Yeah. Doom, I don't see the Minotaur. Oh, there it is. 46 minutes ago. Gotcha. Gotcha. My goodness. Oh, right. Orchid was playing Gambit tonight. That's what she was doing. Technical chances on the front end when beyond lights drop. Oh, changes. Isn't there something about a new system? Like, is that what part of that was about? I saw DDU mention it for
That's
like
why that's why we're gonna have to reinstall the entire game.
That's nothing new for PlayStation. That's actually how PlayStations do updates.
For Xbox, that's a new experience. So you'll have to let us know how that goes. How does that feel, Green? How does it feel to have to reinstall the entire thing?
Well, do you know how long it takes?
Oh gosh, I know it's.
Hopefully, Xbox won't debate you like PlayStation does. Say, "Oh yeah, it's only going to take like 30 minutes," and then it reaches that 30 minutes. It's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to copy it and give you no timer whatsoever on the copying," and it takes like twice as long as the download itself.
Oh yeah, the copying actually takes way longer than the actual downloads. I have fiber. The downloads 10-15 minutes tops.
Yeah.
The copying 2 hours. Like, fuck you, PlayStation.
And I live in the middle of nowhere with 10 megabytes a second. So it's a lot of fun.
Ooh, yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that all the time, so I feel you. That's how it was for me in Kansas.
That's why I went ahead and took off November 11th rather than November 10th. Because I'm going to go to work on the 10th and let it download.
Yeah.
And then come back and just have all day the next day. I just won't open Twitter until I play it.
The load that never ends. Yep. It could be like that stupid song from Lamb Chop.
There's so much stuff I can do in Destiny right now, but I'm having too much fun in For Honor to get on it.
I go on and play, 1 or 2 matches of Crucible, and then I call it good for the day. Like, I have not done hardly anything in Destiny in weeks. And I just don't feel like I need to.
Yeah, I jumped into the last Iron Banner, and the only reason I finished those bounties was because I put together for the first time ever 100 mobility build for any of my characters. It was on my Titan, and I threw on Doom Marchers with Traveler's Chosen, and that was the most fun I had in Crucible for a long time because I was moving fast enough. I didn't really know where I was going.
Yeah.
So people didn't know where I was coming from either. And then with Doom Marchers and Shoulder Charge,
I'm just as confused as you.
That's why I had to throw on Shoulder Charges, because I would just run into a room, I would see a red bar or something, and hit the Shoulder Charge button and hope I hit them. If I didn't hit them, I would just hope I zoomed past them enough they didn't know where I went, and I can take them out with a sidearm. Ideally, I hit one with a Shoulder Charge, kill them, and then weaken everyone else with Doom Marchers. I can clean up with a sidearm easy. But that only happened twice in the whole week I played, so Yeah, that's how chaotic that was.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have look for the mod called Powerful Friends. It's a helmet slot.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's arc specifically, and that will give you a plus 20. It's either plus 10 or plus 20. And that is a really easy way to get a 100 stat build, because I actually have 100 in my mobility and then 94 in my recovery because of the Powerful Friends mod.
See, most of the time when I play, like I just, I make sure my mobility's not 10, but I usually spec into strength so I can run Synthesis with Missile Titan.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't notice how slow I was moving with that build until I tried this build. And now it's going to drive me insane.
Mobility builds are great. I feel like they're fairly common for PvPers to have a mobility build because resilience isn't very helpful, in my opinion, in Crucible because you're generally dead too quick anyway, even with a high resilience.
Yeah, there's only a couple of weapons where the shot count makes a difference on your resilience, so
as long as you have another arc mod in the armor place, it gives you the plus 20 mobility. Right, but it has to be the only way you can use an arc mod on the helmet is it doesn't have to be a helmet. I thought it was just a helmet mod. Well, you have to have it on the same one, so you'd have to have an arc based item that you're putting these into.
Which most of my armors are spec'd for shotguns and stuff, so that wouldn't be a problem. Or sword builds. I love swords in PvE. I'm going to use my Striker's Sure Hand until I can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I'll finally switch to Falling Guillotine.
I like Falling Guillotine. It's a spin to win.
Yeah, I like it. But since I know my Striker's Sure Hand is going away, I'm using as much as... Well, it's not going away, but, as far as using it in relatively difficult stuff, I mean, I'm trying to get as much on it as I can.
Spin to win with a boot cannon and a tether melts bosses like, boom. Good night, Susie.
Which is also a lot of fun to use Fourth Horseman in the energy slot when you're using a sword, because then you just run up, unload Fourth Horseman, and then swap to the sword. It's a pretty good burst damage. I like Fourth Horseman a lot, especially when you use it with a sword. You can use the sword to stay up next to the boss because they keep trying to stomp you, and then swap to Fourth Horseman every now and then. But I need to put together a build where I can auto reload my Fourth Horseman. I know there's a way I can, but I haven't just sat down and done it yet.
I've not. You play a lot more PvE than I do. It's like I've hardly seen any Fourth Horseman. It's all Phil Winter's Lie right now in Crucible.
I really enjoy Fourth Horseman in Crucible. It's not a viable option, but it's great to just stand out in the open when you hear a super pop and have them come at you. But you can do the same thing with Bastion, and the Bastion's a little safer. The Fourth Horseman I enjoy a lot more.
I just don't carry heavy enough weapons to be able to counter roaming supers very often. Like, I don't carry a sniper. Most supers you have to 3-shot with a bow. At least 3 headshots with Le Monarch to get rid of it. And that's if they don't have a regenerative type thing on.
Mm-hmm. Which Point of the Stag's really fun for that too. I really like Point of the Stag. Stupid warlocks. I like that bow specifically on my warlock. So
yeah,
I'll use it with either Top Tree Dawnblade or sometimes I just run Arc Warlock.
I gotcha.
As much as I love Titans, I definitely play a lot of all the classes.
I haven't played much Titan in D2. I've played more Warlock and then Hunter is my baby most of the time. But when I get bored, I'll pull out the Warlock and play that for a little while.
See, my Hunter hardly ever steps foot outside of PvP.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played PvE on my Hunter since Season of Dawn, or PvE on my Hunter since Season of Dawn, I believe.
Yeah.
And my Warlock, I do a mix of everything, really. I'm just not very good at Warlock, so that's why I stick to Titan.
Did you see that? MG got a Titan tattoo.
Because I saw that, where it's the skull with a Titan on it.
Uh-huh.
Who did? DMG?
Yeah, because I think he was going to get a tattoo if whatever class ended up winning the Guardian Games.
Oh, jeez.
Which is a decent looking tattoo. You know, it's not like you just got...
It's a gorgeous tattoo. The artist did a really good job.
Did y'all see that Fall Guys art about the anatomy of them?
Oh, yeah. It's canon now.
Which later they did release another one that was like the cutesy version of their anatomy that said, I don't know, we'll let y'all figure it out.
Instead of the terrifying thing?
Instead of the Nightmare Factory that was.
God, that was
awful. And then like IGN made an article about it and they retweeted it, and the guy really was like just doing like a little quoting thing. Yeah, it was like, oh, don't worry guys, they'll never take what I say on here seriously, don't worry. This is these people. And then it's like IGN with an article about that drawing.
Freaking, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and head to bed. Thank you for hopping on, Saint.
Thank y'all for letting me.
Yes. Bye, chat. Have a good night.
Night, chat.
Sorry, 1:15. So.
Yeah. Time.